My name is Han Yukin. I was an ordinary office worker. Until that door appeared, it completely changed my life. This day, as usual, I was driving with my boss and his wife to deliver goods. The car suddenly lurched violently. We thought we'd been rear-ended. I quickly got out to check, but as soon as I stepped out of the car, I was surprised to see a huge monster drooling. He was squatting on the truck. He was staring at me intently. What's going on? Am I hallucinating? The monster opened its pointed mouth and lunged at me. I instinctively ducked and covered my head. I dodged its attack, but its sharp beak struck the truck, sending it flying through the air. That's when I noticed a strange red door had appeared in space sometime before. Many winged monsters screamed and flew out. The entire city was thrown into chaos. Many citizens were attacked by the monsters. The number of casualties was countless. At this time, the monster in front of me was crouching on the overturned truck, about to attack the couple, the boss and his wife. Inside, I picked up a wooden stick from the ground. Boo said. Boo was about to rush forward and drive the monster away. Zio Bushuomen, who knows what will happen next? A pair of hands, bulging with veins. Human SS grabbed the monster's pointed mouth. Grabbing it, it was the boss's wife who was just in the car with me. The boss was stunned. He anxiously asked what happened to her arm. The proprietress was also a little bewildered. She didn't know why her strength suddenly increased. But the next second, Han Yuchen froze in place. It turned out that at the very moment that strange door appeared, in this world, a group of people who could fight monsters awakened. These awakened ones, through their powerful strength, became monster hunters. The hunters who conquered the underground city, and quickly. Hunters became one of the most important professions in the world. On the other side, a monster was being consumed by raging flames. The people nearby stared in shock in the same direction. Following their astonished gazes, a man stood dumbfounded beside the fire. Eerie black flames emanated from his hands. That's Han Yuxian, my younger brother, who I've depended on since childhood. Since that day, he awakened and became the world's top-ranked S-class hunter. This man, once seen as a good-for-nothing, even after years of awakening, remains a lowly F-class hunter. Not only that, every hunter who teamed up with him would mysteriously disappear. In the end, he would be the only one left. 8 years ago, Shan's sudden appearance changed the world order. It became a passage to the underground city. Since then, a profession was born, hunters. Now, as time goes by, hunters are gradually becoming more common and formalized. They often form small teams of several people, embark on an adventure into the perilous depths of the dungeon. After all, the magic stones within the dungeon are a new material unknown to the human world. These magic stones come in various types. The most expensive ones can fetch over 100 million. Many hunter teams are drawn to them. They scramble to occupy high-level dungeons. Among them, the most famous is Zio Bushuomen. None more so than S-rank hunter Han Yuxian, Zio Bushuomen. When he first awakened, Zio Bushuomen, he was just a student, Bushuomen. But later he established the Abyss Guild. He became the youngest chairman in history. And as his older brother, I am a good-for-nothing that everyone has abandoned. That day, I waited at the entrance to the dungeon, ready to enter. Xiao Bu said. Just then, a red-clothed hunter suddenly stopped the guild leader. He pointed at me and said, "Isn't that Xiao Bu, that guy, isn't he Han Yuchen, the F-rank hunter? How did he end up in our team?" Seeing that I'd been recognized, I awkwardly smiled at him. They don't intend to stir up trouble. The president beside him quickly added, "We're offering such a low price. No one else would come except him." But the man in red still looked at him with disdain. This man is infamous for being a bringer of bad luck. Anyone who goes on an adventure with him never makes it back alive. He's a good-for-nothing who even shuns his own brother. I've put up with everything else. But that remark completely enraged me. I grabbed his collar immediately, but the next second, he kicked me away. Then he grabbed my collar, lifted me high up, and threw me violently to the ground. He also said that if I felt wronged, go tattle to your brother then. Facing this D-rank hunter, I, with only F-rank strength, was completely defenseless. All my grievances, I could only swallow down. At this time, the guild master came to my side. "Use your skills to heal me." Between the lines, he was telling me to endure it. After all, I'm only an F-rank hunter. Why would he offend a D-rank hunter for me? Yet I carelessly smiled at him. Immediately after, I showered the guildmaster with praise. He expressed his gratitude. Finally, he didn't forget to say, "Add oil," to him. Hearing this, the guild leader showed a radiant smile. Standing up, he unexpectedly started berating the red-clothed hunter. Seeing this, I let out a mischievous grin. At that moment, a light blue compass appeared in the palm of my hand. A pop-up window appeared. The guild leader has been added as a target for reformation. All these years, it's been thanks to this skill that I've been able to come back alive every time. This man is the brother of a world-class S-rank hunter, but after awakening, he's only F-rank. So he was mercilessly abandoned by his brother. As an F-rank hunter, in this D-rank dungeon, I don't even get a chance to fight. I can only scavenge the leftover magic stone scraps that other hunters don't want, and I still have to pay 80% in fees. 8 years ago, my brother left home after his awakening. While I was conscripted into the army, he gathered hunters and founded the Abyssal Sea Guild, become the strongest guild in the country. After retiring, I spent all my savings to keep up with my brother. I spent all my savings. I found a so-called awakening agent, but the result was, Zio Bushuomen. Not only was I scammed and left with a huge debt, Zio Bushuomen, but I also had to endure enormous public criticism. My brother even said I was a constant burden to him. Zio Bunamen. Even after I injured my leg in the dungeon, Bushuomen, he didn't even come to see me once. Zio Bushuomen. Everyone says Xiaobu says, my incompetent older brother says, like a parasite, only wanting to bask in my younger brother's glory. That's certainly true, because in this merciless dungeon, as an F rank, the fact that I'm still alive. Xiaobu said I can add small buffs to reformed targets, helping them grow, but what allows me to repeatedly survive alone in the dungeons is the Nurture's other hidden skill, Final Repayment. This skill temporarily transfers the reformed target's skills and abilities, to me, doubled. But the premise is that the target S is dead. At this moment, I feel a force constantly flowing into my body. It's the ability of the president, whom I just tried to reform. How could this happen? This is just a D-class dungeon. What kind of monsters could possibly pose a threat to a group of D-class hunters? I limped my way deep into the dungeon. Before me lay a ground covered in fresh blood. The guild leader's body was also lying in the pool of blood. Then I heard someone calling for help. I looked up. On the cliff above me, a three-headed red dragon was lying there. It was holding the dying hunter in red in its mouth. He seemed to see me too. He mumbled incoherently. It's all because of you, you Jinx, joining our team. He hadn't finished speaking. When blood spattered before me, I heard a crunching sound in my ears. It was the poisonous cursed dragon king, Lakitas. He was classified as an S-class dragon, unhuntable. No one has ever defeated him. But how could a monster of this level appear here? This is a class S dragon, judged to be unhuntable. No one has ever defeated it. I don't understand. This is a class D dungeon. Why would a monster like the poison cursed dragon king appear here? But I don't have time to think about that. The poison cursed dragon king is attacking me. I quickly activate my skill, leg enhancement. The guild leader's skill is class D bone enhancement. Now I can achieve double the effect. I ran into a stone chamber at incredible speed. The entrance here is very narrow. It can't possibly get in. But then it swept its tail, completely destroying the entire structure. By this time, I couldn't escape. I could only activate arm enhancement to withstand its attack. But I was still sent flying by its direct blow. I spat out blood. Even with double the effect of the guildmaster's skill, I was still no match for a level 1 dragon. At that moment, Boss S's memories flooded my mind. Though he tried his best to save every team member, in the end, they all fell victim to the Poison Cursed Dragon King's minions. The Poison Cursed Dragon King had already opened its enormous mouth, attacking me again. Zioba Sheoman, am I really going to end up like this, stuck here? Little Boo said it was just a joke. At the moment when I had completely given up inside, a huge surge of energy hit the Poison Cursed Dragon King. With a loud bang, a violent explosion occurred. But I was carried away by someone, escaping from the explosion site. I looked down. It was my younger brother, Han Yuan. He placed me behind a large rock. He told me to hide quickly. I didn't know why he was here. But even if he's an S-class hunter, he's no match for this poison-cursed Dragon King. At this moment, he activated the skill, Azure Willow Leaf. A surge of blue energy gathered in his hand, transforming into countless sharp leaves that circled around him. As soon as the poison-cursed Dragon King gets close, he'll be pierced by the leaves. Then, with a wave of his hand, purple flames appeared. He coated the long sword in his hand with the purple flames. The originally ordinary long sword, it emitted an eerie purple glow. The next second, he leaped incredibly high. Charging towards the poison-cursed Dragon King, he thrust his sword into its head. A blinding light instantly erupted. How skilled this man is. A top-tier Dragon King, whom others couldn't approach, was pierced in the vital point by his single sword. He let out a piercing scream. I, watching from the side, was incredibly surprised. His speed was astonishing. Is this the battle of S rank? At this moment, the enraged poison-cursed Dragon King opened its massive mouth. A stream of green slime sprayed out from its mouth. This slime contains a deadly poison. Anyone who encounters it will be cursed. Even the recovery medicine can't solve it. My younger brother, Han Yuxian, quickly dodged the venom. But the venom splashed toward me, who was behind him. At that moment, my brother, who had already dodged the venom, swung his sword to block it in front of me. He activated the skill, Giant Shield, to block most of the venom. However, a few drops of venom still landed on him. It immediately corroded his clothes. It was burning his skin. Not only that, but even the long sword in his hand was corroded in one spot. But he didn't flinch. Xiao Bu said. He swung his long sword and charged at the Dragon King again. I was stunned. Could it be that he's fighting less effectively because he's protecting me? So that's why he can't fight freely. I found it hard to believe. My brother, who usually treats me that way, was surprisingly protective of me. But his following words shattered my illusions about family affection. Xiao Bu said, "Man, why are you in the dungeon again?" Xiao Bu said, "Man, your leg is broken, haven't you woken up yet?" Xiao Bu said, "How long am I going to have to clean up your messes?" I gave a self-deprecating smile. Zio Bushuomen, what exactly am I expecting? Zio Bushuomen, I thought, after all, he's my younger brother. So, is he here to save me? It's simply impossible. He's just afraid I'll hold him back again. I extended my right hand and summoned my weapon. Because my overconfident brother is always restless. You must be tired. I walked behind the Dragon King, dragging my long sword. My brother was stunned. He asked me what I was doing. He told me to quickly hide, but I ignored him. I picked up my long sword, and with all my strength, plunged it into the Dragon King's body. Then I threw the sword away and smiled. Even if you saved me, I would still hold you back. Just let me stay here. If I were in the dungeon, it would even save the trouble of holding a funeral. The people of the abyss would probably be very happy too. So, just leave me alone. At this moment, the furious poison-cursed Dragon King had opened its X-basin-sized mouth, roaring as it lunged at me. I closed my eyes tightly, silently awaiting the arrival of death. However, the next second, a tremendous boom exploded in front of me. When I opened my eyes again, my younger brother, Han Yuxian, was covered in blood, fallen before me. What on earth happened? Where exactly did we go wrong? I never expected that my brother, who's always been so mean to me, would risk his life to protect me at this moment. Where did we go wrong? We used to be the closest brothers, even more so after our parents passed away. It's just the two of us left in the world, depending on each other. Are you alright? My younger brother, Han Yuxian, covered in blood, struggled to speak to me with his weak body. The poison-cursed Dragon King will fall asleep every 5 hours. You just need to hide for another hour, and it will fall asleep. Then you'll seize the opportunity to escape. Looking at my younger brother, so familiar yet so strange, I felt a pang of guilt for a moment. It wasn't like that. Even when my leg bones were shattered, didn't you never once come to see me? When I asked you for help, you coldly pushed me away. Didn't you coldly push me away? Didn't you tell me to live quietly? And not to run around everywhere, and then kicked me out? But why are you smiling at me in a place like this? My younger brother took out a glowing stone tablet. This is a gate stone, Xiao Bu said. We can use this to get out of here. I hugged my weakened younger brother. You should keep this for yourself. Let's first figure out how to treat your injuries. My younger brother looked up and smiled at me. It's useless. I think I can't use the gate stone anymore. At this moment, I felt my younger brother's hand slip from my body. His head drooped. Xiao Bu said he slumped against me, completely powerless. A pop-up appears. The effect of the title, Nurturer, has been activated. Xiao Bu says, the Nurturer's additional skill, Lasting Gratitude, will last for 1 hour. My brother's doubled strength is flowing into my body. He just collapsed into my arms like this. This damn fool who should have collapsed. Why do you have to do this? Couldn't I just go to S? At this time, the flames that were originally burning the poison-cursed Dragon King were gradually extinguishing. The enraged Dragon King was impatiently attacking me again. I pulled out a long spear from the void. It was covered in my brother's purple flames. I gripped the spear. I gently laid my brother's body on the ground. Then I leaped. In an instant, I jumped onto the Dragon King's head. I stabbed it hard in the head. It let out a pitiful roar. You're too slow. My current speed is twice that of my amazing younger brother. How terrifying I am now. With a long queue imbued with purple flames in hand, I swung with all my might. This legendary level 1 Dragon King, said to be invincible, had its head cleaved off by me. It crashed down with a thunderous sound. I stood on the Dragon King's corpse. It was destroyed. But what does all of this mean? At this moment, my younger brother's memories flowed into my body. My brother was an F-level awakened, so he can't be associated with me. I have to distance myself from him. What if my brother becomes my weakness? Then he'll definitely be targeted by those guys. Keep an eye on him. Report anything immediately. Damn it. Why couldn't we stop him before he ended up like this? Those bastards who crippled my brother's leg. Get rid of all those guys, Zayabushuo man said. Tell him, Zayabushuo man said. We can't possibly treat him. Kick him out and only offer some financial assistance. Zayabushuo man said. Make it seem like we're giving it to him reluctantly because we're brothers. I'm sorry, Zayabushuo man said. Brother, Xiao Bu said. Maybe this is better than going into the dungeon. Please don't go into the dungeon again. Knowing everything, I burst out laughing. Who do you think you are? You stupid fool, not telling me anything. What should we do now? I didn't know things were like this. Not only did I hold you back, Xiao Bu, but I also broke it. Xiao Bu said, the final repayment period is about to end. Xiao Bashaoman, wait until the duration ends. I will also suffer from the poisonous gas emitted by the venomous cursed Dragon King's body fluids. Just like this. What can I do even if I survive? Xiao Bashaoman, a pop-up window suddenly appeared at this time. Impossible achievement. You hunted the dragon alone. You are awarded the legendary title, Dragon Slayer. You receive a wishing stone that can grant you any one wish. A glittering crystal appeared before me. Grant any wish? Really? So, can I, my brother? Before I could finish, the pop-up appeared again. The wishing stone cannot revive someone who is already dead. Then what good is it to me? I stared at the wishing stone before me. If I could make any wish, I could wish to become stronger than my brother. Become a hunter stronger than anyone else. Become a new hero. But in the end, I still said, rewind time for me. Before my brother S. I will never go to the dungeon again. I will live an honest life. I might as well go back to before my awakening, even if I regret it. At this moment, the wish stone in my hand, a dazzling light suddenly erupted. I quietly closed my eyes. I will never let this happen again. Can you believe it? I actually used the wish stone I obtained by killing the Dragon King, to return to 5 years ago. When I opened my eyes again, I was somehow in my younger brother's Abyss Guild. This was the day 5 years ago when I went to look for the awakening agent. At the time, I didn't even know that person was a scammer. I brought a lot of money with me, and ended up being brought back here. There was a click. The room's door opened. Brother, how many times do I have to tell you? Don't push me to bring you here. Clearly, my younger brother was angry at me. But I didn't care at all. I ran straight up to him, and hugged him. That's great. My brother is still alive. I'm really back. My sudden hug caught my younger brother off guard. Bro, what's wrong with you? You didn't get into even bigger trouble, did you? I patted my brother's head and said, I've just been thinking things over on the way here. You managed the guild by yourself before. Xiao Bu said it must have been tough. Xiao Bu said you went to the dungeon. It must have been really hard. Xiao Bu said it. As your older brother, I should have understood you first. I'm sorry, I won't cause any more trouble from now on. I won't cause you any more trouble in the future. Listen to me. My younger brother suddenly hugged me tightly. I've done many wrong things in the past, but thankfully, everything can still be salvaged now. We are the closest brothers after all. Xiao Bashaoman, I looked up, looking at my younger brother, who's now taller than me. Xiao Bashaoman said what I've always wanted to say. My younger brother, Han Yushin. I love you. A pop-up window suddenly appeared. Awakener Han Yukin's registration is complete, granting you the legendary title. Activating additional skill, my child is the best. The growth rate of nurtured Han Yushin is doubled. What's going on? I've awakened again, and this title is different from before. Could it be because I killed the Dragon King, so I received this title? But time has already rewound. Shouldn't this title have disappeared? And what is County L level? I clicked on the Dragon Slayer title. This title actually comes with 4 L level skills. Poison resistance, curse resistance, resist fear, L, and the natural enemy of Logitas. You can gain double the power when fighting against dragon-like creatures. Could it be that, after returning, I've become S rank? Or maybe I'm the first person at level L. But when I opened the stats panel and took a look. Good grief. Isn't this still level F? I never expected this. I actually went back 5 years. I can even sit here and wait for my brother to feed me. And although my attributes are still F class, my titles have changed. Not only did I get the Dragon Slayer title, but my Nurturer title also upgraded to L class, Perfect Nurturer. This title also comes with 4 skills. The names of the skills are all quite strange, except for the original skill, Final Reward. The growth rate of the target's development will increase. The duration of the effect is 3 days. This is similar to the Caretaker skill from before. Another skill is My Child is so amazing. Target's Reformation ability value. Maximum value 100%. Assuming this is a name and leaving it untranslated. In front of 100 people, it's twice as powerful. This skill is too overpowered. Bu said. Xiao Bu said happily. Then Haiyuan will definitely become the world's strongest guild. Xiao Bu said leisurely, I will be reborn as the nurturer of Haiyuan. That way, I can enjoy a life of ease forever, in fine clothes and rich food. However, what I didn't expect was that the caregiver's skill keyword turned out to be, I love you. I immediately bumped my head on the table. Did I awaken when I said, I love you, to my younger brother? Is that why the keyword changed? If I go around telling people these keywords, forget about reforming them. I'll definitely end up in handcuffs. The skill itself is very powerful, but I can't even use it. I looked at the last skill. This skill can confirm the predicted awakening level of those who haven't awakened. It can also cause those influenced by keywords to awaken with the most suitable aptitude. My brother's meal is ready by now. Because of my words, my brother has completely opened his heart. He frankly told me the reason why he had been cold to me all these years. Although I already knew everything through his memories, the fact that he was willing to open his heart to me still deeply moved me. Luckily, I rewound time. This is the best choice I've ever made in my life. This man was originally a low-level F-class hunter, but because of an accident, I returned to 5 years ago. Since then, I have cultivated countless top hunters. Just a moment ago, I thought that going back in time was the best decision I've ever made in my life. But now, I regret it a little. My younger brother said that because of our relationship, we've grown closer again. His enemies are definitely going to target me, so he told me I shouldn't go out freely anymore. I have to stay here all the time. Even my luggage at home was moved here by him. I felt completely helpless. Isn't this house arrest? But my younger brother just chuckled and said, "Didn't you tell me you loved me?" "I'm sorry," I said. "You accepted everything I did before." Isn't that the same as saying yes? I was about to die of anger. That's not what I meant. I want to break out forcefully, but a big guy has been guarding the door since early on. His name is Jin Chinghan. He's an S-rank hunter from the abyss. He has powerful defensive skills. With him guarding the door, I have no chance of escaping. It seems I have no choice but to accept my fate. I collapsed onto the ground. My brother came over and told me to cheer up. Many enemies are currently restraining Heian, but once Heian becomes stronger than everyone else, those guys won't dare to act rashly. Then we can safely go out. I'm about to cry, waiting for Haiyuan to become stronger. That's at least 3 years from now. My brother patted my shoulder and continued, "Of course, I'll let you out sometimes, but only under my protection or Kim Song-han's. Going out often, though that's probably not going to happen. After all, every time I go into the dungeon, it takes me several days. But I can't leave my brother in the care of anyone below Class B. So, as long as he has the protection of an A-class hunter." Then I suddenly remembered that for a long time I'd been searching for information about hunters who would become a high-level hunter in the future. If I could find them beforehand, I could help them awaken, and as a reward for their awakening, I believe it will be no problem convincing them to be my personal bodyguards, JD. The next day, I arrived at the Awakener registration office of the Hunter Association, of course, accompanied by A-rank hunter Kim Song-han. Because my basic attributes were still quite poor, assistance was necessary. My brother gave me an envelope before I went out. He told me to register and buy some equipment with the Q inside. I opened it and was completely dumbfounded. Wow! There were so many zeros. I went straight to the shopping mall on the 6th floor, Xiaobu said. "There are all sorts of equipment here," Xiaobu said, "but aren't these styles a bit too flashy?" He said, "Aren't there any more ordinary ones?" In the end, I chose a simply styled pair of black fairy earrings, adding 29 points to magic. "Sure, Shua Man said. And a pair of leather gloves, and a lightweight cloth belt." Then I asked Jin Chinghan to drive me to find the first target, the Ice Witch, Park Yilin. Xiaobu said, "Man, I remember she lost her parents at an early age. Bu Shui Man was staying at a relative's house who runs a barbecue restaurant. She's also considered quite outstanding among A-rank hunters. She was supposed to awaken in 3 years. She must still be a student. I have to find her and sign her quickly, to regain my freedom." Soon I arrived at the snack street, but there were more barbecue restaurants here than I imagined. No choice, I'll have to check them one by one. At that moment, at the entrance of a nearby shop, a girl and a middle-aged man were engaged in a heated argument. In a fit of anger, the girl took off her apron and ran away. The girl brushed past me. Found her. "Isn't that Park Yirim?" I quickly chased after her, but Park Yirim still thought I was sent by her uncle to find her. She was very resistant. She tried to cross the road directly, continuing to run away. At that moment, a van sped towards them. Park Yirim was scared stiff. She stood there dumbfounded. I didn't have time to think. I dashed forward. With my gear enhancements, I now have C-class strength. In an instant, he stood in front of Park Yirim. The van couldn't brake in time. It hit me directly. It sent both of us flying. The heroic rescue was great, but it would have been better if the ending had been a bit more stylish. This girl will awaken as an A-class hunter 3 years later, the famous Ice Witch. But now, she's just a little girl who gets bullied by her uncle. I took Park Yirim to a barbecue restaurant. Although she works part-time there, but she doesn't seem to eat much meat. I told her my awakened skill is to awaken others, and that she could at least awaken into a B-rank hunter or higher. Plus, I have the Abyssal Ocean Guild behind me, which can help her secure a place as a hunter. Then I extended my right hand. I asked her if she wanted to sign a contract with me, to become a hunter. Park Yerim seemed to have never considered that she would become a hunter. She was taken aback by my words for a moment. I took out the contract from my inventory and, as Little Cloth said, wrote down the contract. My contract is simple, Boo said casually. The only condition is signing with the Heian Guild. Keep my skills secret. Lastly, you must act as my bodyguard for a year. Park Yerim looked at the contract and suddenly said, let a child protect you. Don't you feel ashamed? I almost spat out my drink. I forced a smile and said to him, what's there to be ashamed of? I'm only an F-cup. Zayabubu said, you will be much stronger than me after you awaken. After Park Yerim read it, she only asked me one question. She asked, after I awaken, can I live independently? After receiving my affirmative answer, Park Yerim immediately intended to sign on the paper, but I stopped her immediately. You need to carefully check the terms. The contract doesn't include your conditions. You signed so casually. What if you get scammed? The contract should be properly adjusted. You're still young and unfamiliar with these things, so you still need a guardian. My words seem to have struck a sore point with Park Yerim. What if the guardian also quits on me? What contract adjustment? He'll definitely take everything. Just then, a man barged into the shop. It was the uncle who had just been arguing with Park Yerim. He grabbed Park Yerim, roughly trying to drag her away, but I immediately grabbed his hand, watching her uncle's awful attitude, and her tattered clothes. I think I understand what Park Yerim meant. So you meant having a guardian is worse than having none, because your guardian is like this? I never imagined. The future renowned A-class hunter, the Ice Witch. Now she lives in such an environment. Not only is she dressed in rags, but her only guardian is also so cruel to her. So you'd rather have no guardian than this one. It's because your guardian is such a horrible person. My words instantly ignited Park Yerim's emotions. Exactly. He's absolutely despicable. He took over all of my parents' inheritance. Yet he doesn't even give me a cent for pocket money. When my umbrella broke, he wouldn't buy me a new one. I had no choice but to go out wrapped in plastic. Park Yerim's sudden accusation made my uncle feel ashamed. He pushed me away. He fiercely wanted to rush over and teach her a lesson, but I suddenly tripped him. Xiao Bu said. He just fell flat on his face. I innocently said, Xiao Bu said, man, why aren't you being more careful? I said, man, I just spilled the soda. I said, man, the floor is really slippery. My uncle was so angry he was about to yell, but I grabbed his head. I said, slowly approach the burning oven. I whispered in his ear. Aren't you ashamed of yourself, treating a child like that? If you dare treat that child like that again. Xiao Bu, I haven't finished speaking yet. Suddenly, a clanging sound came from outside. Jin Qinghan rushed in and shouted at me, danger, quick, hide, there's a monster. Zio Bushuomen, the snack street is already in chaos. Zio Bushuomen, the nearby dungeon has collapsed. Countless huge tentacles are rampaging everywhere. Numerous eyes grow on the tentacles. It also has a terrifyingly large mouthpart. Kim Songhan punched the ground. He used the A-rank defense skill, Earth Shield. A huge barrier suddenly appeared. It blocked the monster. Kim Songhan said he would hold off the monster. Tell me to run. Saying that, he leapt forward and charged up. Although Kim Songhan, an A-rank hunter, had immense destructive power, these monsters only had tentacles, no main body. Destroying the tentacles doesn't hurt or affect them. Dealing with this kind of monster, only by using area of effect S-tier damage skills, can they destroy the tentacles at the same time. But Jin Qinghan is a specialist in defensive hunting, so he doesn't have such skills. He can only fight while retreating. Soon, some of the tentacles crossed the barrier. At that moment, Park Yerim, who was running away, tripped over her shoelaces, and fell to the ground. But the uncle next to her ran away without looking back. At that time, several tentacles attacked Park Yerim, who had fallen behind the crowd. At that moment, I reappeared, blocking Park Yerim's path. I used a table to shield us from the tentacles' attack. I grabbed Park Yerim's hand and ran. Run! Let's go to the shelter. I never imagined the nearby dungeon would suddenly collapse. In my memory, monsters shouldn't have appeared here. Why would something like this suddenly happen? But I don't have time to think about that now. I grabbed Park Yerim's hand. Hurry and run to the underground shelter. My name is Park Yerim. Hurry and hide in the shelter. I, however, plan to go back and help Kim Cheolhan. He's a defense hunter. He doesn't have any area of effect damage skills. He's completely unsuitable for dealing with this kind of monster. Park Yilin suddenly grabbed hold of me. She wanted me to help her awaken. That way, she could go help fight. I patted her shoulder instead. Do you think you can fight well just by awakening? I want you to awaken safely. I didn't intend to let you participate in such a real battle right away. We adults will handle this. Go find a safe place to hide. After saying that, I ran back without looking back. Although my strength is only F class, I'm already a veteran hunter with 5 years of dungeon experience. Jin Jahan was extremely surprised to see me. He said it was very dangerous here, and told me to leave, but I didn't have time to waste words with him. I told him to listen to me completely. Use your shield skill quickly. We arrived at the barrier he had just created. Xiao Bu said casually. I, Jin Jahan, activated the Shield of Earth skill again. Xiao Bu said casually as Jin Jahan struck the ground with a punch. A golden magic circle unfolded. In an instant, several stone walls rose from the ground. The cloth spread out, immediately forming a semicircle. It enveloped the tentacled monster. After that, I used the A-class highly poisonous item, Black Poison Pill, which I bought in advance from the Hunters Association. I just needed to detonate it within the defensive layer, and then close the defensive layer. This way, I can catch them all at once. But when I entered the defense layer, I found it was completely empty. What's going on? Where did they go? At that moment, I heard something in the sewer behind me. A tentacled monster suddenly appeared. It wrapped around my leg immediately, and grabbed me. Oh, no. So they escaped from the sewers. Because there are no sewers in the dungeon. So I didn't expect. Then Park Yerim, holding a large parasol from the roadside, suddenly appeared. She had unbelievable courage, swinging the parasol wildly at the tentacled monster. She actually made it release its tentacle, and dropped me. I quickly ran away with Park Yerim. Didn't I tell you to hide? You're just an ordinary person. What are you doing? I never expected that I would be saved by a little girl. I quickly ran for my life with Park Yerim. I shouted at her while running. Didn't I tell you to hide? You're just an ordinary person. What are you doing here? But to my surprise, she shouted back at me, refusing to back down. Uncle, you're only F-class too. What are you doing? I quickly told her, you're still too young. You shouldn't be involved in this kind of fight. But Park Yerim said, it's because I'm still young. That's why I need strength even more. When the older gentleman saved me just now, I felt very reassured. I felt like this person truly wanted to protect me. But it also made me even angrier, because I don't have the strength to protect myself. So I want to become stronger. It's not because I'm young. It's not that I can't do anything, and I don't need to worry about who will protect me. I want to protect myself with my own strength. So, old man, tell me, how strong can I really become? Bu said. Park Yilin's words made me fall into deep thought. This girl seems even stronger than I imagined. At this moment, the tentacles have blocked our way. We are completely surrounded. We have no way to retreat. It seems this is the only way. I grabbed Park Yerim's hand. A burst of blue ice crystals erupted from Xiao Bu. Xiao Bu said, a loud boom resounded. The tentacles surrounding us were instantly blown away. Jin Songhan, who just arrived, was shocked. Xiao Bu said, what's going on? A pop-up window appeared. Awakener Park Yerim has completed registration. Activating cooldown skill, Icy Psy. Park Yerim excitedly said to me, I'm shown as S-class, and I have several more skills. Park Yerim, who had just awakened, was extremely excited. She didn't notice at all that behind her, a tentacle was attacking her again. I was just about to warn her. Her hand, however, was already entangled by a tentacle. But the next second, she threw a punch, directly sending the tentacled monster flying. The tentacled monster crashed against the wall like a puddle of mud. It wouldn't budge. Jin Songhan and I were both shocked. Is this the power of S-class? Park Yerim gained immense power. Her confidence soared. She even borrowed weapons from Jin Songhan, holding a long Q. Note, Q needs context to be translated accurately. It likely refers to a specific weapon. A powerful aura erupted from her. She activated the skill, Hermes Shoes. Her speed surged. In an instant, she was among the swarm of tentacles. With a sweep of her long Q, several tentacles were severed at once. However, it wasn't just the tentacles. If it weren't for Kim Songhan helping me resist, I would have been crushed by her powerful aura. I quickly protested loudly to her. Park Yerim awkwardly smiled at me, repeatedly saying sorry. She said she still can't control her power. I looked at Park Yilin in the distance. She smiled with relief. She was originally a hunter known as the Ice Witch, but who would have thought that now it's just a child who can smile like that. I never expected. The Ice Witch, originally an A-rank hunter, has now awakened as an S-rank. Could it be because of my skill's effect? Did it raise her awakening level? At this moment, Park Yerim had just awakened. She had no combat experience whatsoever. These tentacle monsters need to be dealt with using area of effect skills. We need to eliminate them all at once. I shouted, asking her if she had any area of effect skills. Suddenly, the voice of my younger brother, Han Yuxian, came from beside me. Leave that to me. He waved his hand broadly. The iconic purple flame appeared in his hand. He stepped forward toward us. The purple flame instantly erupted in his hand, burning towards the tentacles ahead. Unlike Park Yerim, Xiao Bu said calmly, with his brother's precise control over his power, his skill didn't affect anything else. Purple flames quickly spread among the tentacles, igniting a huge fire. Park Yerim, who was prepared to show off her skills, was greatly surprised. What's going on? He actually burned them all at once. Seeing my younger brother rush to the rescue again, I felt a little guilty. He grabbed my shoulder. Bushoa man, do you know how worried I was on my way here? How many times have I told you, don't wander around outside? I quickly told him not to worry. Xiao Bushoa man, my bag has been found. I pointed at Park Yerim, a newly awakened S-class hunter. I've already decided to sign her. How about it, Xiao Bushoa man? If it's an S-class bodyguard, Xiao Bushoa man, you shouldn't have any objections, right? She seems like a child, doesn't she? Where's her guardian? That question stumped me. Her guardian has some issues, so I decided to become her guardian myself. Park Yerim was deeply moved when I said I would be her guardian. However, my younger brother strongly disagreed. He dragged me back. Why do you have to interfere with others, brother? Even if it's for your safety, I still disagree. There have been more than 1 or 2 cases of higher-level awakened ones abusing lower-level guardians. It's not just 1 or 2. Besides, how could an S-class person obediently listen to an F-class person? What if she beats my brother? Park Yerim was speechless. Her face flushed, she said resentfully. I wouldn't hit him. I'm very kind. Han Yuxian, his younger brother, said angrily. It's better for me to be your guardian than letting my brother do it. Park Yerim was equally unyielding. I don't want that. The adult has already promised me he will be. The two of them were arguing fiercely. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. These aren't 2 top hunters. They're clearly just 2 children vying for attention. Can you believe it? These 2 are the future world's S-class hunters. He actually acted like a child in front of me, fussing and complaining endlessly. My younger brother reached out and tucked me under his arm, saying he would take me home. But Park Yerim grabbed my arm, preventing me from leaving. My F-class fragile body couldn't withstand the pull of 2 S-class awakened beings. With a crack, my arm felt like it snapped. They realized they'd caused trouble, and immediately quieted down. I pointed at my younger brother and said seriously, Han Yuxian, is this how I raised you? The guardianship issue is Yi Lin's business. Why are you interfering? And as the guild president, I brought an S-rank hunter. Aren't you supposed to be happy about this, man? Then I pointed to Jin Jahan behind me. And why do we need to go home? Don't we need to clean up here? Mr. Jin Chenghan is still waiting pitifully. As the guild leader, you should get to work right away. Seeing that I seemed angry, my younger brother mumbled, and then obediently went to handle the aftermath here. Seeing my younger brother leave after being scolded, Park Yerim stood behind me like a victor. Still looking angry, he said, what's up with the Haiyuan guild leader? It's completely different from the image I had of her before. Wow. You think she's off the hook? I turned and pointed at Xiaobu. Tell her to be quiet. Sit still. Xiaoli muttered. I picked up the shoe she just ran off with, while bending down to help her put it on. Wu muttered, cursing her HD uncle. He actually gave her such worn-out shoes. Park Yerim's face lit up with a smile. Don't you think this situation is a little heartwarming? Don't they often have on TV? Park Yerim didn't finish her sentence. When she noticed a fly had landed on my head, I swatted at the fly with a slap of my hand. It even sent me flying. Whoa, it wasn't just exciting. My heart was pounding like crazy. Park Yerim quickly apologized repeatedly to me. The reason I wanted to help her. I feel like many of the things she went through, I can deeply empathize with. After our parents passed away, my brother and I also had a very tough time. I was thinking back then, it would have been nice to have reliable support. Although I may seem not so reliable. Park Yerim said with a smile. I think you're very reliable, sir. Anyway, I'll leave it to you from now on. Guardian, sir. I looked up at Park Yerim and smiled slightly. Although I can't love you like your parents do. But, Park Yerim, I love you. A pop-up window appeared at this time. The awakened Park Yilin has been influenced by the keyword. Just now, I told Park Yilin, I love you. It became the keyword required by the system. Park Yilin blushed and chuckled. Why did you suddenly say something so cheesy? No matter what, the fact that I signed a guardianship agreement with Park Yerim is settled. But there's still one unsolved DM problem. At this time, Park Yerim's uncle ran over breathlessly. He learned about Park Yerim's S-class awakening. He immediately feigned concern for Park Yerim. But upon hearing that Park Yerim wanted to sign with me and move out of her house, he reverted to his true colors. His face contorted in fury, he vehemently refused. I immediately pulled out my phone. It recorded what he said at the barbecue restaurant just now, combined with the security footage from the restaurant. It proves he's not a fit guardian. But how could he so easily let go of such a lucrative opportunity? He kept arguing with me incessantly. He even tried to grab my phone. After I dodged him, he grabbed my collar in a fit of rage. He's just an ordinary person. I didn't want to fight him. But then Park Yerim angrily planted her umbrella in the ground. It scared both her uncle and me. I quickly reminded her that awakened beings can't attack ordinary people. However, Park Yerim didn't attack. Xiao Bu said that Manhwa was playfully toying with the umbrella in her hand, a large umbrella, easily snapping it in half. Although she kept smiling, the oppressive aura she exuded made his uncle feel like a ferocious beast was standing before him. Thankfully, I activated my resist fear skill, so I wasn't affected. This oppressive feeling truly lives up to its S-class status. Park Yerim crumpled the umbrella in her hand into a ball. She casually threw it on the ground. Her uncle was already scared speechless. With a thud, he sat down on the ground. Park Yerim leaned down, her head close to her uncle's ear, whispering, "I originally planned to repay you in full for what you did to me, but now I've decided to let it go, because it's not important. Uncle, you're not worth my concern." Then she straightened up and continued speaking from a superior position. "You'll have to keep being this insignificant from now on. Otherwise, I won't let you off the hook. I never expected. I only intended to sign a contract with the future A-class hunter, the Ice Witch, but I ended up experiencing so much. I didn't expect that. The training room, originally designed to withstand S-class power, was so utterly destroyed by her. It's like it just went through a war." At this moment, Park Yerim punched the ground, and the stone slabs immediately cracked. Rocks flew everywhere. I landed on the ground. Black shadows immediately spread around me. When the black shadows reached my feet, I immediately felt my body suddenly freeze. Soon, the black shadows enveloped my entire body. I felt all my strength drain away. I collapsed immediately. My younger brother quickly hugged me and shouted, "Brother, don't die." Only then, Park Yerim, who was concentrating on her training, noticed our arrival. I looked at Park Yerim before me, her hair cut short and neat, youthful and beautiful. Xiao Bu said, "I almost didn't recognize her." My younger brother said, "The stylist gave her a new look. After all, she's an S-class hunter now," said Man. "They say even TV station people want to interview her." Little Bu, Park Yerim, says she's trying out various skills to fill out her profile. She'll submit her registration information to the Hunters Association later. As an S-class hunter, Park Yerim possesses 4 skills. Besides the freezing skill she used before, Icy Sai, and Hermes Shoes, which allows her to fly and teleport short distances. The Day Without Shadows is an area-based buff skill. It significantly increases the desired attributes and skill effects. It can also devour the opponent's shadow, slowing down their movements. It adds corresponding buffs. In other words, it absorbs the surrounding power to become stronger. That skill just drained all my power. And there's one last skill called White S-Body. You can extract information from the S-Body. I told her, "It's not necessary to list all your skills during registration. It's better to keep something back." I tweaked her registration information. I concealed the White S-Body skill. I only wrote a general description of the other skill's effects. Park Yerim adoringly hugged my arm. "Sir, you really know so much. Like an expert." But my younger brother stepped in front of me. "My older brother researched all this for me. He's very knowledgeable about this. So please keep your distance." Then the two of them started bickering again. "What's with these two? Why are we arguing the moment we see each other?" This man barged into my room aggressively. He reached out and demanded I hand over what I bought that day. I was stunned. Could it be that I bought too much from the shopping mall? I thought I could spend all those Q. But my younger brother, Han Yuxian, was furious. He demanded that I hand over the Hey Duwu pills I bought. He reached out and snatched the pills from me. Then he suddenly rushed forward and hugged me. My younger brother thought I was afraid of being captured by his enemies, becoming his weakness. That's why he bought this. In case I was taken hostage, I could poison myself. This is a huge misunderstanding. I wanted to buy it secretly. I used it when I was clearing the dungeon. But seeing his moved expression, I let him misunderstand. Xiao Bu said, "Today is the official announcement to the public of Park Yerim's S-Class hunter status. She is the 8th S-Class combat hunter in the country." All the media outlets rushed to cover it. Park Yerim actually wanted me to attend the press conference with her. But I have a lot of bad memories of crowded places. I didn't want to attend such an event. Besides, I can't always be by her side. She's famous now. She will live a rich and colorful life. Soon, I will be out of her sight. But she will live a good life on her own from now on. This is the best part of the novel and manga. This world and the world I know have changed a lot, according to the novels and manga. Zio Bushuoman said that the originally arrogant and cold Ice Witch, Park Yerin, from the future, has disappeared. She's nowhere to be found. Here now is the confident and smiling student hunter, Park Yerin. This is something that wasn't supposed to happen, but I can't worry about that now. As long as it's a good change, isn't that enough? Since I'm at the Hunter Association today, I plan to look around a bit. See if there are any promising new recruits. But after using hopeful sprouts to look around, most of them are D rank or E rank, mostly. Sure enough, S rank isn't that easy to come by. But then something suddenly caught my eye. What's going on with that man? Ignoring Jin Chinghan's obstruction, I rushed out. I hurried over to his side. I immediately reached out and grabbed him. This disheveled man. The man turned his head, looking bewildered. Who are you? A pop-up window appeared. Awakener Lu Mingyu. Current level, F. Awakening level, F. Best initial skill attainable, SS class. Can you believe it? This man's awakening level is only F. But he can master an SS class initial skill. The owner of the goldsmith shop. You can tell from the name alone that it's a special skill related to equipment manufacturing. This SS class craftsman who can manufacture equipment themselves, even 5 years later, hasn't appeared. As long as you can master this skill, people all over the world should be lining up with QS to beg this slightly hunched over man before them. This man who seems to have suffered greatly in life. I can't miss a chance like this. Because the system prompted me. I know this man's name is Lu Mingyu, so I walked up and deliberately called his name, pretending I knew him. Because registering as an awakener gets you $1 million subsidy, Xiao Bu said. So he was planning to register with the Hunters Association. But I grabbed his hand and suggested he receive basic training with me at the guild. But to my surprise, Jin Qinghan grabbed my collar angrily. He said only guild members could receive novice hunter training. Lu Mingyu immediately recognized the famous Jin Jahan as someone from the Haiyuan guild. Jin Jahan held me like a chick. He then said to Lu Mingyu with a smile, actually, the president of the Abyss Guild is my younger brother. Lu Mingyu was stunned. Xiao Bu suddenly thought that I, who seemed so ordinary just now, was so dazzling. Xiao Bu said with admiration. I tightly grasped his hand and told him, as long as he can come and receive the guild's basic education. Xiao Bu not only gave him free lessons, but also lent him equipment. Lu Mingyu was very curious why I was so good to him. I smiled brightly and said to him, because you deserve this treatment. This was probably the first time someone had affirmed him in all these years. Lu Mingyu's tears welled up in his eyes. He suddenly knelt down on the ground, and wept. After a long while, he finally calmed down. Lu Mingyu told me that he had loved making small handmade trinkets since he was a child. He also won many awards. But when he grew up, those things became useless. Everyone told him to study hard, but he had absolutely no talent for studying. He only got into a mediocre university. He couldn't find a job. The conditions at home weren't very good either. As a result, before he knew it, he was buried in debt, and ended up like this. I actually understand how he feels. Even if the world changes, some things will never change. People are ranked. Only combat skills or healing skills are valued. As a hunter, I'm also F rank. In society, I'm also F rank. If things continued as they were, what will happen to Lu Mingyu? He might not even be able to display his talent. But now I'm here. I will definitely make him a great hunter. Just now, I met Lu Mingyu, who possesses SS class special crafting skills. He's a man about to be crushed by life, just like I was before. I patted him on the shoulder and said, you need to be more confident. If you keep being so timid, you'll be spending a fortune on spinal surgery later. Then I raised my hands high and shouted towards the river. You should always believe that you are amazing. It's just that others don't know it yet. Then I turned to him and said, I love myself. I love you too, my friend. At this moment, a pop-up appeared. The awakened Lu Mingyu has been influenced by the keyword. It was thought that persuading Lu Mingyu would settle this matter. Who would have thought I'd run into this stubborn Shiming? Zhao Bushuomen. He's the personnel director of the Haiyuan Guild. He wants Lu Mingyu to undergo the Haiyuan Guild's new recruit training. I have to get his approval, but he absolutely refuses. Zhao Bushuomen. He says the guild's new recruit training is no different from identity verification. I'm sure some people will say, why should we give such benefits to these useless people from who knows where? Lu Mingyu was deeply discouraged upon hearing his words. After mocking Lu Mingyu, he wasn't satisfied. He had to come after me too. I told him to trust me, just this once. Lu Mingyu is truly a talented person. However, Shiming adjusted his glasses and said to me, of course I know, Mr. Han Yucheng, that you have excellent judgment. Just discovering Park Yellen is already a remarkable achievement. Then he extended an indescribable finger, pushed up his glasses, and continued. Xiao Bu said, a few days ago, you were being deceived by an agent. Now, you actually want to arrange for someone to use the back door. Honestly, I don't know what your goal is. But as someone who wants to protect the abyss, I can't stand any of this. Lu Mingyu saw that I had been humiliated because of it. Very remorseful. Ran out directly. This Shiming is really getting more and more venomous. It makes me so angry. I took out my cell phone and wanted to call my brother directly. Lu Mingyu stopped me. He said to me with a smile, didn't you tell me I was valuable? That's enough. It's thanks to you that I found the will to live. I intend to stop retreating. I'll try to do what I can. Actually, there are places that assign work to F-class hunters like me. They said they would come here to pick me up. Just then, a black van pulled up in front of us. Lu Mingyu smiled and walked towards the van. 3 burly men were sitting inside, even the strong men with tattoos. These people look so dangerous. I never expected that the job Lu Mingyu said he could arrange for me would be with these thugs. They snatched the subsidy Lu Mingyu just received. Then they took him away in the car. I was very worried. I hurriedly asked them where they were taking Lu Mingyu. The 3 calamus wore fierce expressions on their faces. They fiercely asked me what I wanted. I gave an awkward smile and said, because I wanted to go too. Then they took me with them in the car. That's when I found out that Lu Mingyu owed them GLD. So they planned to take him to sign a miner's contract. If you're unlucky, Xiaobu said that rank F hunters are often attacked by monsters, getting injured or even dying. I looked at Lu Mingyu sitting next to me. Is this where your future self ends up, stranded in such a place, unable to showcase your own talents? Is that how it ends for you? Soon we arrived at the Kurami's base. Here, they completely changed their previously rather amicable attitude. They beat Lu Mingyu up. Lu Mingyu felt very guilty because of his involvement. He said he had implicated me in this. Xiaobu said at this time, a Kurami who looked like a boss. They produced a contract and asked us to sign. Zio Bushuomen. As expected, I could only get 20% of the revenue. Zio Bushuomen. Zio Bushuomen. Lu Mingyu's situation was even worse. He only got 10%. Moreover, this contract is a special awakener contract. Any violation will result in a D-class curse. But a class D curse is nothing to me. Since I already know what they're after, I tore up the contract right in front of them. Sure enough, I was afflicted with a class D curse. But because I possessed the level L Hell curse skill, I didn't receive any damage at all. The nearby Kurami were stunned. They never thought I would dare to tear up the contract. And I haven't received any curses. At this moment, I kicked up. I kicked the boss right in the head. I kicked him flying. Then I pressed his head to the ground, and punched him hard. I knocked him unconscious. At this time, the Kurami around me all surrounded me. They yelled that I wouldn't be leaving here alive today, but I calmly took out my phone. 25 minutes ago. I already called Jin Jahan. He should be arriving here soon. Just now, I tore up the contract with the additional curse. A D-class curse has no effect on me, with my L-class curse resistance skill. Several Calamus nearby saw this and surrounded me. They intended to attack me together. Just then, a man suddenly appeared. He ripped open the tightly closed iron door with his bare hands. He raised his fist. My fist shot out. I sent a Calamite who was wielding an iron bar, and preparing to attack me flying. With a bang, he crashed heavily to the ground. The other Calamites nearby were all stunned. The person who arrived was A-class hunter Jin Songhan. I secretly pressed the call button as I got into their van. I clearly described the location. I clearly described where this place was. So Jin Songhan quickly found me. At that time, 2 more Kuramis. He was attacked from behind by Jin Qinghan. Jin Qinghan didn't even turn his head. With one punch, he hit one of the attackers in the face. Then, he followed up with a backhand punch to another person's head. Both of them were effortlessly sent flying. One of the Kurami was still not. He pulled out a dagger. He lunged at Jin Qinghan with it. But the next second, he was stunned. The dagger sliced across Jin Qinghan's body, but only tore his clothes. His body was completely unharmed. You should be using a weapon that's useful against A-class. Jin Qinghan scowled. He bent his middle finger and extended his right hand. Xiaobu said with a grin, just a little brain smash. Xiaobu smirked, and the Kurami was sent flying with a loud bang. It was directly knocked away. Someone nearby recognized Kim Songhan. He's an A-rank hunter from the Heian Guild. Knowing the difference in strength, all the Kuramis became docile. With Kim Songhan's command to kneel, all the Kuramis obediently knelt to the side. Jin Qinghan asked me how I wanted to deal with these people. I looked at the pile of contracts they'd signed with others in the cabinet. As the saying goes, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I directly wrote up a Class S contract. Violation would result in a Class S curse. I presented the contract to the boss. The boss was dumbfounded when he saw it. The contract was identical to the ones they'd signed with those F-rankers. They only received 10% of the resources. The contract term was 50 years. Several Calamus whispered amongst themselves. Isn't this just asking us to go S? That boss also said, we will not sign such an NL contract. He hadn't finished speaking, when I threw all the contracts in my hands right at his face. Since you know it's an NL contract, so why did you sign with these F-class people? Can you believe it? These Kuramis who distribute GLDs, have already scammed at least 30 F-class people, into signing NL contracts selling themselves, and among these people, I don't know how many people have already fallen in the dungeon. The leader of these Kurami still wanted to argue, but I kicked him straight in the face. Trash like them. They treated F-rank people like expendables, shoving them into the dungeon. Now I have to make those guys Sign the same contract and feel it. Only then will they understand what they've been doing all along. Then a Calamite begged for mercy, saying they knew they were wrong. Let me spare them this time. A 50-year contract is too much. Begging me to show mercy, Littleby said. I simply smiled at him. I grabbed his head. Since you've already reflected on it, shouldn't you atone for your sins properly? Then Jin Song-han handed over all those karamis to the Hunters Association. They would continue to exploit and manipulate them there. The commission earned would be used to compensate the victims who had signed contracts with them. Lu Mingyu was deeply moved at this moment. I'm grateful that I saved his life again, but I don't really care. After all, once his skills are awakened in the future, I'll also gain quite a few benefits. Xiao Dan, but Lu Mingyu doesn't know any of this. He excitedly hugged me. Crying, he thanked me. Xiao Bu said that after returning to the Abyss Guild, he found Shi Shiming. Xiao Bu said that as Park Yilan's ward and guardian, he was given a guild dormitory. Xiao Bu said it was a dorm. Xiao Bu said it was a dorm, but it's actually a high-class apartment. The whole apartment has 4 rooms. During my guild's novice training, I can live here. The most important thing is, outsiders can't stay in this dorm, but live-in nannies are allowed to live here. This will allow Lu Mingyu, after his education, to pretend to be the nanny living here with me. As soon as Lu Mingyu heard my idea, he was immediately moved to tears again. He threw his arms around me again. I told him to get away from me with a look of disgust. That night, after settling Lu Mingyu, I planned to secretly go back to my younger brother's house, and move my luggage out. But as soon as I opened the door, Jin Qinghan is guarding outside again. What's going on? Did my younger brother send him again? Is he going to lock me up again? However, Jin Qinghan said, I'm here to see you about something else this time. Jin Qinghan said he had something important to discuss with me. I didn't expect he'd bring me to a bar. Jin Qinghan said the young hunters in the guild like to come here. That's why he brought me here. He also told me to relax a bit, not to feel burdened. But his attitude towards me suddenly became so nice. It made me panic. I quickly asked him why he brought me here. Kim Song-han said he wanted to apologize to me. He said he had always disliked me, thinking I would be a useless stumbling block to my younger brother's future. But Jin Qinghan smiled and continued. It was just a misunderstanding. Mr. Han Yuchen, you are a good person. When the dungeon collapsed, you insisted on coming back to help me. Xiao Bu said casually. Not only did I gain Ms. Park Yirim's trust, I also secured the contract. Today, you even risked your life to save your friend, Bu Xiaomeng. A trustworthy person, Bu Xiaomeng. Little Bu Xiaomeng. A sudden idea popped into my head. Should we take this opportunity to get on good terms with him? With that thought in mind, Xiao Bu mumbled. Xiao Bu mumbled, after all, such shameful words. Xiao Bu could only say them when drunk. Xiao Bu said that Jin Qinghan guessed that I was previously deceived by the awakened agent. Did he also have other plans? I hadn't been reborn at that time. Bu said, of course I was really deceived, but I still pretended to be profound and said, I originally planned to investigate some things separately. After a few drinks, Jin Qinghan started telling me his story. It turns out Jin Qinghan never had parents. His grandfather raised him. When the underground city crisis broke out, he awakened while protecting his grandfather. Before his grandfather passed away, his younger brother, Han Yuxian, helped him a lot. He even hired professional caregivers and healers from abroad for him. That's why Kim Song-han followed him so wholeheartedly. We talked a lot, and drank a lot of alcohol. Kim Song-han said he didn't expect me to be such a good drinker. That's when I realized, there's already a pile of empty bottles on the table. When did I become such a heavy drinker? That's when I remembered my skill that resists poison. Could it be because of that skill? So I won't get drunk no matter how much I drink now. I don't want to say those keywords while I'm sober. I randomly clicked on the icon for resisting poison. I didn't expect that I actually turned it off. With a thud, the glass of wine in my hand fell to the floor. The moment I turned off the poison resistance, the effects of the alcohol hit me. My face instantly turned crimson. With a thud, I collapsed onto the table, unconscious. When I woke up again, it was the next morning. I'd drunk too much. My head was splitting. Then I saw Kim Song-han walking over with a basin of water. The moment I saw him, I jumped up from the bed in fright. Oh my god, when did I change into pajamas? Why is Jin Song-han with me so early in the morning? And when did I manage to reform him last night? At this moment, Jin Song-han looked at me gently and said, don't you remember what happened last night? Looks like your hangover is pretty bad. Let me take a look. Just now, I woke up, and surprisingly found that A-class hunter, Jin Song-han, was at my bedside, looking at me with a gentle expression. This panicked me. I quickly told him, I don't have those feelings. Kim Song-han ignored me. Instead, he handed me a bag of ginger tea. He said it was good for hangovers. He even gave me a leg massage. He said pressing here could quickly relieve a hangover. He even handed me a spittoon, saying I could vomit into it if I felt nauseous. I was speechless. I asked him what he was trying to do. Jin Chinghan, however, looked at me with a resentful expression and said, "So you really don't remember what happened last night?" Apparently, yesterday, after I got drunk, I grabbed Jin Chinghan's hand, and said, "I love you. Zio Bushuoman." And I kept saying it repeatedly. Zio Bushuoman. I've said it at least 30 times, Zio Bushuoman. Hearing Jin Chinghan say that, Zio Bushuoman, I immediately threw myself onto the bed, prostrate. "I'm sorry. I committed a sin." But Jin Chinghan said with a smile, "It's okay, Zio Buman. I'm actually quite happy." Apparently, the way I was drunk last night reminded him of his deceased grandfather. You don't have to care about what others say at all. Things like, your parents abandoned you, and so on. To Grandpa, you are the most important. I love you. My grandson, Xiaobu said. Grandpa, when he was alive, Xiaobu man, would still hold on to Jin Chinghan when he was drunk. Xiaobu would say over and over, "I love you." Xiaobu said, Jin Chinghan's words made me breathe a sigh of relief. But I'm only in my 20s. Xiaobu asked, why does it make him feel like he's with a grandfather? Jin Chinghan said he also found it very strange. He feels a sense of calm when he's around me. It's like being with a grandfather. That's why he's so gentle and caring towards me. Kim Songhan also suggested that I could visit him occasionally in the future. He wanted to make up for the shortcomings in his care for the person who raised him. Kim Songhan's words reminded me that this might be the effect of a perfect caregiver. Hearing the words, "I love you," I don't think of a lover or a friend, but of the person who raised me. And I also see the shadow of that caregiver in myself. If that's the case, Park Yirim and Lu Mingyu's fondness for me is now explained. They're like lost ducklings. They see me as their caregiver. And I am, in fact, my younger brother Han Yuhian's caregiver. So his reaction would be more intense. I never expected. It actually allows those I influence to see the image of a family member in me. That's why their sense of dependency on me is so strong. At that moment, Lu Mingyu, who had been carefully observing from the side, suddenly pounced on me. He said that Jin Chenghan suddenly appeared in the dorm last night. It scared him. Park Yirim also burst in, laughing. "Sir, I heard you moved into the dorm. Right next to me. I'll go. Why are you breaking down the door the moment you see me?" Park Yirim saw Lee Minwoo behind me, and immediately lifted him up. Who is this guy? Why is he clinging to the uncle? I found out about the hidden effect of the perfect nurturer. I'm immune to their strong emotions now. This is not a skill for persuasion. It's a brainwashing skill. It can even make S-rank individuals follow me without a second thought. Why did the system give me this kind of skill? The following days, I've been living in the guild dormitory. Lu Mingyu felt very guilty because of the free accommodation, so he cooks for us every day. And Park Yelim, who lives next door, also comes to freeload every day. She also comes to eat here every day. As for Jin Chinghan, I haven't seen him for a few days. He seems to have gone dungeon crawling with his younger brother. Park Yerin doesn't show any gratitude at all. She's still confronting Lu Mingyu. She even told me to wait until she earns Q in the dungeon later. Move into a bigger house with her. Don't live with Lu Mingyu anymore. Tell them to get along well. After all, they'll have to receive novice hunter training together. Hearing this, both of them were very unhappy. Park Yerim even directly jumped up. I thought it was just me and the older man going. It's all your fault. I have to deal with these people's competition for favor every day. I'm having such a hard time. Just then, the doorbell rang. I took the opportunity to slip away and open the door. The person who came was Suk Si-ming, the personnel section chief of the Heian Guild. He handed me a notice. The new hunter training, which was originally scheduled for a few days later, was changed to start today. Afterwards, we were each given a spear. We were thrown into a real combat training room. Right in front of us, there was a massive horde of monsters. They were charging straight at us. I never would have imagined that the Abyss Guild's novice hunter training could be this terrifying. The head of the personnel department, Shi Shiming, handed me a notice. Then, Park Yilin, Lu Mingyu, and I were thrown into the live combat training room. Each of us only had a spear in hand, and across from us, it's a massive swarm of monsters. They're charging towards us at full speed. I was shocked. How could this happen? Isn't this basic training? Aren't we supposed to just take down one monster each? Shi Shiming, however, spoke to us over the broadcast from the observation platform. This exercise is meant to get familiar with the monsters. The more monsters you see, the faster you'll get used to them, right? At this moment, Park Yilin, an S-rank, was extremely excited. He suddenly charged toward the group of monsters. He even told me not to worry. She will eliminate all the monsters. Park Yirim was seen wielding her spear, facing the oncoming monsters. She showed no mercy. The powerful energy she unleashed during her attacks even reached me and Lu Mingyu standing in the back. I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. Park Yirim looked at the monsters she had impaled, excitedly asking me, would these taste good grilled on a baking sheet? Xiao Bu said I was speechless. What was that? Occupational hazard. A woman in high heels walked into the observation deck where Shiming was. Xiaobuman said, "It's just basic training." Xiaobuman said, "You're letting them deal with so many monsters. Isn't that too dangerous?" Xiaobushi said, but Shiming pushed his glasses. "I'm worried there won't be any monsters left. It could be good practice for those two." Not long after, all the monsters were wiped out by Park Yirim. The S-type monsters' bodies formed a small mountain. Wu Yilin also used ice-type skills to freeze them. Asked me if I looked like a Christmas tree. At this time, the S-pile wriggled. A monster actually didn't have an S. It emerged from under the S-pile. It suddenly lunged at Lu Mingyu, who was closest to it. He was about to cry. "I really can't do this kind of thing." But the monster didn't intend to let him go. It lunged at him again. Seeing this, I rushed forward. I tackled Lu Mingyu to the ground. The monster flew over our heads. It crashed to the ground. Can you believe it? That man was actually scared away by an F-class monster, and ran off. Luckily, I rushed over and tackled him. He wasn't injured. I was angry and questioned Lu Mingyu. How could he throw away his weapon? That monster is a Class F creature called a Nor. Its eyesight is very poor. It usually can only move forward in a straight line, so even just stabbing forward with the Q is enough to defeat it. At this moment, Shiming is in the observation room, watching our movements. This time, he's released so many monsters at once. In fact, he wants to see how I'll handle it. He thinks I'm more capable than a rookie hunter. He's far too experienced, so he guessed I was hiding something. At that moment, I was holding my spear, ready to face the charging rodents. Lu Mingyu looked at my calm demeanor with envy. This line seems incomplete or a name. Leaving as is. You're really amazing. Not scared at all. You're like a seasoned hunter with years of experience. Lu Mingyu's words suddenly reminded me, if I successfully subdue the monster, it would seem quite impressive, wouldn't it? Thinking of this, I also threw away the spear in my hand, letting the toothed rat rush over and bite me. I even pretended to say to Lu Mingyu, "I'm scared too." This left Shiming, who was observing from upstairs, speechless. The doubt was erased from my mind. The monsters have all been eliminated. Xiaobu said we walked out of the combat training room. Although I was the one who got injured, Lu Mingyu was so scared that his legs went weak. He needed me to support him to be able to walk out. It seems he's really not cut out for combat. Park Yirim beside him, however, looked excited. She had just tried out all her skills. At this time, Suk Siming walked over. He adjusted his glasses and said, "You have successfully completed the basic internship. Mississippi Park Yirim is naturally outstanding. You two are hopeless." His words made me furious. Shiming completely ignored my protest. He turned and said, "Tomorrow, we will proceed with the theoretical education as planned. This is Professor Suk Ho-yun, who will be teaching your class." She's holding a file. Wearing black-framed glasses, a woman with an intellectual aura approached. Park Yirim was a little surprised. She's so young to be a professor. I'm surprised too, because I know this person. She's an authority on dungeon studies. A young genius who discovered the generation rules of dungeons. And what surprised me even more is, a person like that. It's actually Shiming's niece, the personnel department head. Hayan smiled and extended her right hand to me. "I'll be staying at Haiyuan temporarily for research purposes. We'll probably see each other often from now on. Please take care of me." My face instantly turned red. I reached out and took her hand. What's going on? This plot twist. Am I going to have a pink-colored youth too? The dungeon appeared in the world for the first time. Everyone was like primitive humans who had just discovered fire, just curiously peeking. But I dare not rashly intrude. And these uncharted dungeons. Due to oversaturation, they erupted one after another. Monsters swarmed out. This is the dungeon's collapse. But in this crisis, many people became awakened and fought against the monsters. They then harnessed new energy magic stones to develop new materials and technologies. Humanity is rapidly adapting to the changed world. In order to manage the awakened, new hunter associations have been established in countries around the world. Most hunters belong to associations or guilds. However, domestic S-class hunters primarily team up with corporations to establish and operate large guilds. Professor Suk Ho-yun on stage is diligently. They're giving us 3 newbies a theoretical education on hunting. This is my first systematic study of hunting knowledge. Although I knew a lot of it already, hearing it this way gives me a new perspective. It's just that the information Ho-yun is presenting is 5 years old, so there are some inaccuracies. Xiaobu, only then did I realize, Hayan had somehow come in front of me. "Your eyes right now are like our professional professors. Is there something wrong?" I was startled by her. I didn't expect her to see through me. I can only say, somewhat embarrassed. The conclusion of later generations. Current information suggests that awakening skills are manifested in the face of crisis, for self-preservation. but the skills are merely based on innate talent, and the changes that occurred in the environment. I also listed many pieces of evidence summarized by later generations. Shirhayan listened to what I said. She lowered her head and pondered for a while. Suddenly, she grabbed my hand. Her face was full of excitement as she said to me, "Are you doing some personal research? No wonder Uncle sees you in a different light. If you don't mind, let's talk a bit more after class." Shirhayan's sudden enthusiasm startled me. I quickly changed the subject. He asked Park Yerim next to him if she had any questions for the teacher. Park Yerim said with a smile, "I'm curious how much money an S rank can earn." Suk Ha-yun tilted her head and laughed. Then, she actually pulled out a toy gun that shoots confetti from her clothes. She pulled the trigger. Many toy banknotes fluttered down. S-class hunters earn 10 billion in base salary alone every year. This made Park Yerim's eyes light up instantly. I, however, was speechless. Was this something she had prepared specifically? Shirhayan continued to throw money, while saying, "Good treatment is only right, you know, because S-class hunters are few and far between in every country in the world. They have to fight monsters in extremely dangerous high-level dungeons. After all, and the byproducts they bring back from the S-class dungeon also have extremely high astronomical value. From magic stones to rare plants and animals, fruits. Sometimes they even bring back living magical beasts. I never expected. My younger brother, Han Yushin, he actually brought back a flame-horned lion cub from an S-rank dungeon. This high-level magical beast not only has extremely high skill values, but is also incredibly fast, and possesses powerful fire skills. Even S-class hunters would struggle to face it alone. My brother wants to see if he can tame it as a mount. But now, the little guys jumped onto the wardrobe. There's no sign of it being tamed at all. My brother asked hunters in the guild with taming skills to all try taming it. He even obtained the symbol of the master. This is an item that makes the user recognize the holder as their master. Holding the symbol of the master, Little Boo said, "Order the flamehorn lion to come down." The flamehorn lion hesitated for a moment upon hearing the command. My whole body trembled. We thought it was working, Little Boo, but the next second, it called out in a childish voice, "Mom," and pounced on us. My younger brother quickly shielded me. He told me to retreat. Then, with a grand sweep of his hand, a purple flame shot towards the fire-horned lion. The fierce flames engulfed the lion. However, the flame attack was completely ineffective against the fire-horned lion. Xiaobu said it still lunged at its younger brother, reaching out its little paws. Xiaobu said man clawed at its younger brother. Finally, its face was scratched. Xiaobu said man's clothes were also torn by its younger brother. Xiaobu said man still grabbed its nape. Then I locked it up in the courtyard. Unexpectedly, even with the symbol of ownership to help, I still couldn't tame it. My brother hadn't held out much hope anyway. Now we just have to get rid of it. I'll use Hopeful Sprout. I checked its attributes. Flame Horn Lion, Young. Current ability level. Potential ability level, A to S. Skills, Fire Resistance. Abilities gained upon maturation, Fire Breath, and others. Blazing Speed. Gigantification. Such a pity. If only it could be tamed. It would be perfect for my younger brother. But even 5 years later, there is no way to tame this monster. At that moment, I suddenly noticed a line of text. The object is currently in an untamed state, unaffected by the keyword. I was somewhat shocked. Could the taming skill work on monsters too? If it does, then wouldn't my younger brother be able to? I asked my younger brother if other guilds had mounts. My younger brother said, yes, there are some, but they're all low-level mounts. There aren't any high-level mounts like this. The corners of my mouth turned up slightly. Then can I try raising it? I was extremely excited inside. Maybe I'm about to strike it rich. Perhaps it's the only high-level mount in the whole world. Just now, my younger brother, Han Yuxian, brought back a high-level monster from the dungeon. A flame horn lion cub. But it's incredibly wild. Even though my brother is holding the symbol of ownership, he hasn't been able to tame it. So my brother plans to train it while it's still young. Take care of it. These magical beasts were originally monsters that only existed in legends. They became real after the dungeons appeared. Although most of them are meant to be defeated, there are rare cases where they are successfully tamed. Mounts are extremely precious among them. Because the higher level dungeons are larger, so if you have a mount, it will be very advantageous. And the Fire Main Lion also has fire resistance skills, making it perfect as a mount for my younger brother, Xiaobu said. If it were another mount, BEF might not be able to withstand his brother's S-class flame power at all. The Flamehorn Lion can not only resist flames, but it is also an unprecedented high-level mount. As long as it's tamed properly, one can gain invincible power. His brother is well aware of this too, but the Flamehorn Lion, although still a cub, is incredibly aggressive. It always looks like it's ready to fight to the death. My younger brother asked me how I plan to tame it. Xiao Bu said I smiled slightly, and said we'll start with food. If I feed it delicious food, I'm sure I can win it over. Xiao Bu said it likes delicious food, but my younger brother said it wants to eat monster meat, and it has to be mixed with magic stones before it will eat. One meal requires 1 C-grade magic stone. I almost spat out blood at that moment. I painfully sprinkled magic stone powder on the chopped monster meat. I made a luxurious monster feed, filled with my sincerity, and also filled with my fortune. Watching the flame horn lion gobble up the feed, I felt my heart bleeding. Even if it only eats once a day, it costs 300 million a month. That's 3.66 billion a year. If I eat 3 meals a day, it's 10 billion a year. My younger brother next to me told me to cheer up, he'll pay for the feed. Although it pains me to do so, watching it eat with its head bobbing is quite lovely, really. If I were to say the keyword to it, would it understand, I love you? I also wonder if every time I feed it, should I tell it, I love you, to try and win it over? I pushed open the courtyard gate and went inside. I should try to win its favor first. I never imagined raising a high-level magical beast would be this troublesome. The annual cost would be at least tens of millions. And when it grows up, it will definitely eat much more. Luckily, my younger brother, Han Yuxian, said he would cover the cost of the feed. I planned to win the flame horn lion's favor first. I opened the courtyard gate and went inside. The flame horn lion, which was just quietly eating, immediately became aggressive when it saw WK nearby. It rushed at me with a fierce look on its face. I quickly took out the B-grade belt I had prepared in advance. It bit onto it right away. I planned to feed it after. Then, I got close to it by playing with it. I'm a professional worker, you know. I've even worked part-time at a pet hospital. Like playing tug-of-war with small animals like this. They're all very obedient. But I didn't expect. It bit my belt, shaking its head and bobbing its body. It flung me up into the air. My younger brother rushed in, his face full of worry. I got up from the ground and told my brother not to worry. I took out the master's symbol, and held it in front of the flame horn lion. It, which had originally looked fierce, suddenly became docile. A voice rang out in my mind. Title, Perfect Caregiver. The effect of strengthening the master's symbol has been amplified. The subject shows affection towards its caretaker. The flame horn lion has completely changed its demeanor. It's even rolling around on the ground, acting cute. It's so adorable. My heart is melting. After Xiaobu's comics, I interacted with it. It cooperated with a docile expression. But my younger brother reached out. It bit him immediately. I quickly scolded it, telling it not to bite casually, but it stared at me with wide eyes, looking at me innocently. My brother is S-class and wasn't bitten. He said with a smile, take good care of it for me, even if it can't be a mount. It can protect my brother too. The little flame horn lion is really too cute. I quickly assured my brother that I would take good care of it. Compared to brainwashing people, it's better to reform monsters. If I can succeed, that is. Should I keep more of these cute monster cubs around me? Would my title then become something like Monster Master? That sounds kind of cool. Then I plan to take the fire horn lion back to the company dormitory. Because tomorrow I still have to work with Park Yirim and Lu Mingyu on the final part of the new hunter training. Dungeon combat practice. My younger brother and I made a date to have a drink together after tomorrow's work. It's been a long time since we two last had a drink together. But I didn't expect. The next day, the entrance to the dungeon. He was surrounded by onlookers and reporters. And even the police came to maintain order. Because S-class star hunter Han Yuxin also arrived at the entrance to the novice practical training dungeon. Can you believe it? Just because of the arrival of S-class star hunter Han Yuxin, the entrance to an ordinary D-rank dungeon, it's surprisingly crowded with fans and reporters. It's not often you see two S-rank hunters together. Many reporters pointed their cameras at Han Yuxian and Park Yellen. They continuously snapped photos. A reporter asked Han Yuxian a question. Are you personally assisting Hunter Park Yirim on her first dungeon raid? Han Yuxian replied very officially. Because this is a new S-class hunter's first dungeon raid, I want to lead her personally. This is also my duty as a senior S-class hunter, and the things the guild leader should be doing. Meanwhile, Lu Mingyu and I, two F-rank hunters. Naturally, no reporters would pay us any attention. I looked at my younger brother, Han Yuxian, and Park Yirim. Suddenly, I thought, they really are a very ideal pair. Two opposing attributes, the city says, plus Lu Mingyu's equipment crafting skill, and Jin Qinghan's S-class defense skill. I really look forward to seeing them fighting side by side in the future. Zhao Bushiman. Because this is our first time entering the dungeon, the Abyssal Guild will lend us equipment for free, but we need to return it after the raid. The Abyssal Guild truly lives up to its reputation as a large guild. Xiaobu said there's a dazzling array of various world quests. Lu Mingyu, beside him. Xiaobu was also very pleased looking at the various equipment, but as soon as he heard the staff say that he would need to pay for any damage to the equipment, Lu Mingyu was so scared that he immediately pulled back. After all, he is someone who will one day create equipment many times better than this. I told him not to worry. Then I handed him a nice, high-level WQ. Healing potions are consumables. So if you're not a guild member, you need to pay Q. So I had Park Yurim, a member of the Heian Guild, get a lot of healing potions. We can share them if we need them later. Park Yurim picked up a ridiculously oversized axe. She intended to use it as her WQ. But she's a hunter who primarily relies on skills. So I told her to just use a long Q like the rest of us. Han Yu-hien, who was still being interviewed nearby, fell into deep thought after hearing my words. Team leader sure is right. As a rookie hunter, his knowledge is truly vast. Then he showed a very gentle smile. He must be worried about me, his younger brother. So he diligently collected a lot of information related to hunting. Everything is ready. We've arrived at the entrance to the dungeon. This is a relatively low-risk D-class dungeon. The entrance will close 1 hour after hunters enter, unless the hunters eliminate all the monsters inside, or they're all wiped out. Otherwise, the door won't open. But in an emergency, I could escape using the stone gate my brother has. But the stone gate is an extremely rare item. There are only a few in the country. At that moment, I stared at the portal in front of me, a little dazed, treated like trash. The days I spent struggling in the dungeon still feel like yesterday, but things are different now. I don't have crushing debts, or any abuse. Now I'm going to those who welcomed me, and my younger brother, fought side by side with me in the dungeon. That future is no more. Thinking about this, I excitedly ran towards my companions, and entered the dungeon with them. Park Yilin was very excited as soon as she entered the dungeon. It was her first time seeing such a scene. It felt like another world. But her brother, Han Yuxian, drew his sword. With a serious expression, he said, "We're not here to play. Don't act like you're on a picnic." Then he imbued his long sword with purple flames. He swung it in one motion, Zayab said. Zayab said, "A beautiful grassland was instantly engulfed in raging flames," Zayab said. Zayab said Park Yirim went completely ballistic, questioning why he had to do this. Vibu said, "Man, don't you know how to protect the environment?" I quickly advised her to calm down. Xiaobu said, "Man, tell her to look over there." Scattered around were the burned remains of the monsters. Little brother Han Yuxian arrogantly retrieved his sword. After entering the dungeon, the first thing to do is ensure safety. Didn't you learn this in your theory classes? Didn't you even learn this most basic knowledge? Park Yirim awkwardly scratched her head. Of course we learned that. It's just that I don't have any area of effect skills. Speaking of which, I suddenly remembered that by leveling up through battles, generally every 10 levels, you would gain a new skill. But what skill you get is uncertain. But as Park Yilin's guardian, I can help her choose what skills to acquire. The signature skill of the ice which Park Yilin in her past life, Pale Rain, is an area of effect skill. Of course, I'll help her choose this skill first. At this moment, a shadow appears. Something suddenly darted past them. Han Yuxian and Park Yi-rin turned their heads simultaneously. Park Yi-rin, with an excited expression, charged towards the monster. Han Yuxian was not to be outdone, wielding his long sword. They chased after it together. The two S-rank hunters acted simultaneously. The monster's fate was inevitable. As for me, who was behind, I was left speechless at the scene. The ideal future of the two of them working closely together. Will it really come true? This man, although just a lowly F-rank hunter, possesses the powerful title of perfectly nurtured. This caused Han Yu-hien and Park Yirim, two S-rank hunters, to compete fiercely to deliver the barely alive monster to me. "Let me replenish my D and level up," Lu Mingyu exclaimed in amazement beside me. "They're all so amazing." One person froze a monster. I, on the other hand, replenished my D, while collecting the magic stones dropped by the monsters. This thing is worth quite a lot of Q. I even told Lu Mingyu to hurry up and join me to level up the S monster. Lu Mingyu has always lacked confidence. He's a bit afraid that even if he levels up, he won't get good skills. But I, who can see his talent. But he's not worried about that at all, Xiaobu said. As long as he reaches level 10, the SS grade crafting skill, Master of the Golden Workshop, will appear. But I took a closer look. At this, Master of the Golden Workshop, Xiaobu said. Besides reaching level 10, there are other conditions to master it. Zio Bushiman. Why is there another, sharpen 10,000 cutting tools? What's going on? It's nonsense. That sentence doesn't make sense at all. Did the system make a mistake? Where did the system even come from? There are no clues in the future either. Because it overturned the world. So many people say that it's a miracle from God. But if it were God, he shouldn't have made any spelling mistakes, right? Xiaobu said that indeed, when Lu Mingyu reached level 10, no new skills appeared. I could only comfort him, while trying to figure out what was going on. At that moment, a pop-up window appeared. Sorry, what does this mean? Is the system talking to me? I didn't have time to think about what was happening. My younger brother, Han Yu-hien, and Park Yirim rushed towards me. Danger! Get out of the way! Han Yu-hien embraced me. He protectively shielded me beneath him. Meanwhile, Park Yi-rin, wielding a long Q, preemptively used ice magic to block the fiery attack. Han Yu-hien said it was an attack from the boss. but I saw the flames spreading across the mountain. A D-class dungeon boss shouldn't be able to perform area attacks of this scale, right? It turns out that this dungeon's boss was originally a tremendously large goat, but just now, a strange bird suddenly appeared. It swallowed the boss in one gulp. The exit portal, which should have appeared after defeating the boss, didn't appear. Han Yu-hien suspected that the strange bird had replaced the boss, only by defeating it. Escape doors only appear. This is an A-class dungeon. Only boss-level monsters appear in such a place, but it suddenly appeared in an E-class dungeon. It even swallowed the original boss. It replaced the original boss, only by SNG it. Will the exit portal appear? This made Han Yu-hien somewhat flustered, because it was also his first time seeing this kind of monster. He didn't know how powerful it really was. He handed me the stone gate in his hand. If I'm in danger, just take this and leave. A powerful monster suddenly appeared. My younger brother gave me the stone gate, and told me to run. This scene felt so familiar. It made me break out in a cold sweat. Could my younger brother still be like that? Thinking about it. Duiman. I don't need this, Zio Bushuoman. That guy's not as good as you. They don't recognize this monster. But I, from the future, know it very well. It's a level 2 avian-type monster, Golden Beak Maya, Zyobulus said casually. It's a fire attribute, A-rank dungeon boss-level monster. Its main weapon is its beak, Zyobulus said casually. Its weaknesses are its back and abdomen. Its skull is softer. It also has a spare pair of wings, so you should keep attacking its head, not its wings. My younger brother, Han Yu-hien, found it very strange, how I knew all this. But there's no time to explain it to him now. I told him to take care of the strange bird first. We'll deal with the rest after we get out. I will never let something like that happen again. This time, we're all going out together. I told Park Yerim to use her Psi skill, to set up a barrier. Park Yerim immediately activated her skill, Icy Psi. A snowflake-shaped magic circle appeared, enveloping all of us. With Park Yerim's protection, I told my younger brother to rest assured and deal with the strange bird. But my younger brother was still a little worried. He forcefully shoved the doorstone at me. Then he swung his sword and charged at the monstrous bird. My younger brother, Han Yu-hien, has a strong resistance to flames, so he was able to withstand the bird's fiery attacks. Although he didn't have flight skills, but there are skills with similar effects. They should be able to deal with this monster bird. At this moment, the monster bird screeched and charged towards Han Yu-hien on the ground. But Han Yu-hien was already prepared. He slightly shifted his body and dodged the long beak's attack. This was also the effect Han Yu-hien wanted to achieve. He took advantage of the moment when the strange bird landed on the ground. He swung his long sword. With one strike, he slashed down at it fiercely. The blow severed one of its wings instantly. But its wing quickly regrew. I'm utterly baffled. Why did he cut off its wings? He just needed to jump up and attack its head. It should have ended the fight with one blow, just using the blue willow leaf. That would replace the flying skill, wouldn't it? Does he not have that skill yet? That's impossible. The monstrous bird, which had been fighting Han Yu-hien for half a day, suddenly stopped attacking him, and instead swooped towards our location. I never expected that a normal, ordinary E-rank dungeon would actually contain an A-rank boss monster. This familiar scene made me a little panicked. But this time, I absolutely won't let that happen again. The monstrous bird, which had been continuously fighting with my younger brother, Han Yu-hien, it suddenly abandoned its attack on him. Instead, it flew towards us. Park Yerim is also an S-class awakened, but this is her first time entering a dungeon. Faced with the charging monster, she was completely panicked. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Han Yu-hien activated the skill, Blue Willow Leaf. Countless azure leaves appeared, entangling the strange bird within them, restricting its movements. I was instantly thrilled. He really can use the blue willow leaves. So, will he? I thought my brother would use the willow leaves to stylishly deliver a fatal blow to the strange bird. Who knew he'd act like a fool, waving his hands and directing the leaves to entangle the strange bird. I quickly shouted at him, that skill isn't used like that. That skill isn't used like that. You have to jump up stepping on the leaves. My younger brother, Han Yu-hien, froze after hearing my words. He tentatively stepped onto the leaf. Unexpectedly, it could actually support his weight. Xiao Bu lifted him into the air. Han Yu-hien immediately became excited. If that's the case, everything becomes simple. He stepped on a blue willow leaf and flew to the strange bird's side. Xiao Bu said, at this moment, the monstrous bird opened its beak wide. A massive burst of fiery energy was shot out from its mouth. However, this mere flame couldn't harm Han Yu-hien, who had strong fire resistance. He didn't retreat, but advanced instead. He charged at the monstrous bird, long sword in hand. He thrust his sword at it. The sword was imbued with powerful purple flames. It contained immense energy. There was a loud boom. A burst of fire shot into the sky. The entire underground city was violently shaken. If Park Yerim hadn't used Icy Psi to withstand the aftershocks, Lu Mingyu and I might have been thrown away. The monstrous bird received a fatal blow. Its entire body crashed to the ground with a loud thud. My younger brother, Han Yu-hyun, also suffered some injuries. But the manipulator, Blue Willow, landed steadily on the ground. He was extremely excited at this moment. The lack of a flight skill had been his biggest regret. But unexpectedly, he could actually use Blue Willow to replace a flight skill. Just how incredibly awesome is this S-class hunter? Having gained the ability to fly, he actually managed to instantly defeat an A-rank monster with a single D-class move. At that moment, my younger brother Han Yu-hyun was looking at me with immense excitement. If it weren't for my reminder, he would never have thought that the Blue Willow Leaf could actually replace the flying skill. The A-class boss is eliminated. We successfully escaped the dungeon. Han Yu-hyun and Park Yerim emerged, immediately drawing everyone's attention again. I thought since no one was paying attention to me, I'd just sneak away. But then, Jin Song-han rushed over, flustered and agitated. He was very self-reproachful for not coming with me this time. He even collapsed in front of me. Now, there's no way to keep a low profile. Jin Song-han asked if I was injured. He wanted to carry me back. I quickly waved my hands and refused his offer. Night. I arrived at my younger brother, Han Yu-hyun's house. My brother was taking a shower, so I decided to go to the garden first, to play with the flame horn lion. The little lion cub excitedly pounced on me when it saw me. It knocked me so hard I almost spat out my food. Then I played tug-of-war with it. Xiaobu said. I fed it a dinner full of delicious, chewy goodness. Xiaobu's whole set of actions. I'm completely exhausted. This should soften it up a bit, right? Me, lying on the ground, recalled today's events. Xiaobu said, wow, so many strange things happened today. Not only did the system have typos, and it even used the chat window to talk to me. The dungeon, too. High-level monsters were randomly appearing. That kind of thing only occasionally happened years later. I suddenly sat up in a panic. Could all of this be related to me rewinding time? Is it because something went wrong when time was rewound? So that's why the system is talking to me personally. I angrily shook my fist. What does this have to do with me? If that's the case, then you should have explained it to me properly from the beginning. This system is so unfriendly. The skills section is especially unfriendly. Even if it had explained it properly to me, I wouldn't have chosen a keyword like, I love you. I wonder if my complaints about the system had any effect. A huge book. It suddenly appeared before me. What is this thing? A roster? The style looks like something from a kindergarten. I really don't know what the system designer was thinking. There's an S symbol on the book. It says, complete reformation goals, below. There are also photos of my younger brother, Han Yu-hyun, and Park Yerim attached. But what shocked me the most was that there are actually 50 blank spaces in this notebook. This seems to record completed S-class reformations. Does this mean they intend for me to reform 50 S-class individuals? This is a young flamehorn lion. Yet, it shows no fear when faced with an attack from an adult beast. In the blink of an eye, it executed a perfect single S. Afterward, it calmly licked the marks off its claws. Its body length has now reached 51 centimeters. Its weight has increased to 11 pounds. It's grown almost twice as large as 2 days ago. And I captured this peaceful hunting scene of S. Peace is the new name I gave it. It truly lives up to its status as a high-level monster, coupled with my taming skill. Its growth rate is incredibly fast. I excitedly spread my arms. Helicopter very cooperatively jumped into my arms. Only this impact made me almost vomit. But luckily I was prepared. The rest is unclear and possibly a name or brand. Borrowed everything I could. I borrowed all the equipment that increases stamina and strength, plus 45 in total. For now, I can still manage to withstand the damage Peace unintentionally inflicts on me. And the reason I'm filming this training session with Peace is because during our chat last night, I told my younger brother, Han Yu-hyun, that I gained a new skill after reaching level 10. Because I can't tell him about my reformation skill yet, I lied and said I got a skill to tame magical beasts. And it's an S-rank skill, usable on high-level magical beasts. My younger brother, hearing this, immediately wanted to tie me up with a rope. He thought that I, an F-rank hunter, would actually possess an S-rank special skill. I'd surely be targeted by many people. But the reason I told him about this skill is because I don't want to hide it anymore. I want to provide the Abyssal Guild members with high-level mounts. I can even provide them to other S-rank hunters. Before, we could only walk through the dungeons. Now we have mounts. This skill can completely change the situation of dungeon exploration. If the number of mounts increases, and the efficiency of dungeon exploration improves, the collapse of the dungeons will also reduce accordingly. The world will become safer. The most important thing is, according to the system's requirements, I need to gather 50 S rank, and compared to giving people XN, I think reforming the Warcraft is better. So this training SP we filmed, is to promote my ability to train Warcraft. But training Warcraft is really tiring. In a short while, I collapsed on the ground. At this time, the personnel director of the Hyuan Guild, Shi Shiming suddenly walked over. Unlike our usual encounters where he mocks me coldly, this time, Shi Shiming was acting completely out of character. He even apologized for his previous bad attitude, with a bow. And then, he grabbed my arm tightly. They kept insisting I join the Haiyuan Guild. It made me so helpless. Just now, Shi Shiming SS from the Haiyuan Guild stopped me. He insisted I join the Haiyuan Guild. He said he'd been blind before. Now, the insight and analytical skills I've demonstrated, combined with my new skills, will surely bring a new atmosphere to the Ha Guild. I'm speechless. Insight, my foot. I just saw the answers in the future. Seeing that I still hadn't agreed, Shi Shiming again offered to provide me with every guarantee, including the supply of young magical beasts, their feed, and the cost of raising them. He said any other requests I had were also acceptable. It was the first time I had ever seen Shi Shiming in such a humble position. Being the client feels so good, but even if his conditions are favorable, I still don't intend to accept them. After all, my younger brother, Han Yuxian, has already agreed to pay my pet's upkeep, but not as a hunter under contract. I can sign with the Haiyuan Guild as a regular employee. In that case, I can also raise mounts for other guilds to earn Q. The most important thing is, I know that the Abyss Guild is not yet the most dominant guild in the country. If I sign an exclusive contract with them, the consequences might be more than they can handle. After all, anyone can see how enviable the mount skill is. With a mount, Bushoman. Xiao Bushoman, for high-level hunters. It's like having a goose that lays golden eggs. Xiao Bushoman, but this skill is actually monopolized by Haiyuan. Many people will definitely think that if you can't have it, you might as well destroy it. It seems that the unorganized hunters should be better, right? I'll fairly cultivate one for everyone. Some things need to be negotiated with other guilds. Hearing my words, Shi Shiming actually laughed. He just didn't expect that I also understood the stakes involved. This way, all eyes will be on me. Not Haiyuan Y. He wasn't sure whether I didn't understand the world of high-level hunters, or if I didn't know the weight of those gazes, or is this also to protect my brother? But in any case, Shi Shiming is very clear. From now on, the attention of the three major guilds, and even the entire world will be focused on me. I never expected that after I announced my ability to train Warcraft, my younger brother Han Yuxian immediately found me. He said the presidents of the three major guilds in the country want to meet me, and they are already on their way. I knew that upon hearing this news, they would definitely want to meet me, but I didn't expect them to be in such a hurry. My younger brother was a little worried, because I'm only an F-rank hunter, and those guild masters are all S-rank hunters. Hunters of such a low rank would struggle just facing them. But I still accepted their negotiation request without hesitation. After all, those are my future customers. How could I not confirm it in person? The moment I stepped into the conference room, the room fell instantly silent. An unprecedented sense of pressure washed over me. I quickly activated the Hellish Fear skill, Xiaobu said. It's just so I wouldn't be overwhelmed by this aura, Xiaobu said. I hadn't even had a chance to speak. A man wearing sunglasses walked over, Xiaobu said. Xiaobu said. He even asked me to reach out my hand to him, Xiaobu said. I instinctively reached out my hand, but the man said, before we negotiate, he needed to assess my skills first. Assess skills. I instantly understood. Slap, asterisk. A slap landed on his hand. I seized the opportunity and pulled my hand back. I never expected they would actually bring a skill appraiser with them. Xiaobu said that if the door was appraised, my L-level and S-level skills would be exposed. Xiaobu said, if that's the case, then I'm definitely set. Xiaobu said, at this moment, the fire-horned lion in my arms was calm. Xiaobu said, it could sense that this man in front of me was about to release a skill at me. Xiaobu said, it suddenly changed from its lazy appearance. It revealed a fierce look. The next second, it showed its claws. It pounced on the man with sunglasses. The Hunter Association president nearby was quite surprised. He hadn't expected that a C-class juvenile flame horn lion would already be this powerful. While I was still calming peace down, a voice rang out from behind me. Its protective attitude towards its master is proof enough. There's no need to use an identification skill anymore. This woman is Wen Xianya, the guild master of the Breakthrough Guild. She smiled warmly and walked towards me. Only when I stood up did I realize, this S-class woman is a little too muscular, isn't she? I only reach her shoulder. I can't help but wonder, will S-class Park Yirim grow this tall in the future? Just now, I met the presidents of the three largest guilds in the country for the first time. Wen Xianya, the president of the Breakthrough Guild, is a rather tall woman. Although she's an S-rank hunter and a top DJ domestically, she's completely unpretentious. Smiling, she asked her younger brother, Han Yuxian, if they could cultivate new magical beast offspring, could she have them first? Naturally, Han Yuxian wouldn't agree, but he offered to exchange them for offspring of the highest level riding beasts with cold resistance skills. When Xianya knew immediately, Han Yuxian is preparing a suitable mount for Park Yelin. At this time, Choi Seo Kwan, the guild master of MKC, spoke, but he immediately roared angrily. All the monster cubs on the market have been bought by Heian. He said, now you say you want to exchange. Is this appropriate? Han Yuhian seemed unconcerned about his bad temper. Then just go find a replacement Mount SJ in the dungeon. Choi Sukwan immediately flew into a rage, saying, isn't this telling us that if we want a mount? So you're just taking what Abyss wants. Then what's the point of calling yourselves independent hunters? It's practically no different from being completely under Abyss's guild, is it? Then I slowly stood up. I said calmly, if I only want to help my brother, then I'll just breed mounts for the Abyss. Why did I come to see you all? Xiao Bu Wan Man and Chui Shi Yuan were speechless at my words, and I continued. Xiao Bu said, the number of monsters I can breed at once is limited, so everyone here is the same as the Abyss. You'll get mounts before any other guild in the world. So, wouldn't you say you've received a great benefit? My words temporarily calmed Choi Sukwan's anger. He sat back down obediently. Then, Moon Hyenya patted my shoulder and said with a chuckle, you're not just skilled. She's quite eloquent, isn't she? Then she leaned her face close to mine. She whispered and asked if I planned to join the Breakthrough Guild. I have to say, up close, Wen Xianya is truly beautiful, but looking at my brother, who's nearly set the conference room on fire, I quickly told her I had no intention of joining any guild. Of course, if my dear brother were to become the president of the country's strongest guild, that would be an exception, naturally. Hearing what I said, the Song Guild president, who had remained silent until then, Sung Hyunjae suddenly spoke. If it's the Songseong Guild, could they sign you immediately? The Songseong Guild is the strongest guild in the country. Its guild master is also the country's strongest hunter. Although with his strength, he could definitely guarantee my safety. But if I really agreed to him now, I don't know what kind of trouble will follow. I quickly said to him, this condition only applies to my younger brother. Others have to become the strongest in the world. Can you believe it? I'm just a lowly F-rank hunter, yet I'm being fought over by the 5 strongest guilds in the country. But with things as they are, no matter which guild I join, it's bound to cause chaos. So I politely declined all the guild's invitations. The president of the Breaker Guild, Wen Xianya, said with a smile, so, you're determined to be a lone hunter no matter what, huh? I can see you're bent on going solo. You really are the brother of the Abyss Guild's president. I was speechless. What kind of hellish world is this? If I didn't have the skill to resist fear, I would have been scared to death by these people's terrifying aura. Although I've heard that S-class hunters are all lunatics who escaped from hell, but they clearly have smiles on their faces. Zio Bushuoman, how can they have such a strong aura of terror and control? Zio Bushuoman, this makes me feel sorry for my younger brother, Han Yuxian. I wonder how he managed to survive among such a bunch of guys. At this time, Park Mingyu, the president of Hanshin Guild, said with a smile, a wet behind-the-ears kid, dared to clamor about establishing his own guild. He takes after his older brother in everything. Although my older brother seems much more naive than my younger brother, hearing him say that, I felt a little unhappy. But I still smiled and responded to him. Compared to me, it's still my younger brother who is more naive. He's probably the most naive person among everyone here. I didn't expect that my words would stun everyone present. I felt a little awkward. Did I say something wrong? Han Yuxian is, after all, the world's most well-behaved younger brother. My parents died young. I was so busy making money that I couldn't take good care of him. But not only did he not go astray, he was also kind and obedient. He never caused me any worry at all. Where can I find such a well-behaved child? Who would have thought that when I spoke, everyone in the room lowered their heads, looking as if they were holding back an injury. The next second, everyone in the room couldn't hold it anymore, and burst out laughing. Even the serious Song Hyunjae is struggling to hold back his laughter. I wondered why he was being so unusually humble today. So that's how it is. Meanwhile, Moon Hyenya laughed unrestrainedly, pointing at Han Yuhian and saying, that madman is actually acting cute in front of his older brother. Hearing her call my younger brother crazy, I immediately expressed my displeasure. I don't understand why everyone reacted that way. What's wrong with my younger brother? He became the chairman at such a young age. It's impossible for him to remain kind in every situation. I never expected that simply saying my younger brother is well-behaved and sensible would make all the presidents present laugh so hard. Amidst this joyful atmosphere, when Xianya brought out the prepared contract, the main clauses of the contract, the Abyss Guild has already spoken to them on my behalf, but this is the first time I've seen this contract. There's a clause that says, that's when I learned that Shi Shiming had requested the other 4 guilds to jointly fund this, so I could have a place to cultivate magical beasts. So he requested that the other 4 guilds jointly fund this. Build a dedicated building in my name. I'm so moved I could cry. Shi Shiming did an amazing job. The final ownership will still belong to me. My smile has become frozen. I'll need to bring Lu Mingyu over later. Build an equipment manufacturing facility in the building. And also Shirhan. Set up a lab and have her do research here. With this building, Busuman, I'll immediately reach the peak of my life. In the future, even if I just laze around and collect rent. Retirement is also secured, you see. After signing the contract, everyone left one after another. Before leaving, Song Hyunjae from the Song Gongho Guild said to me, Xiao Bu, I've remembered your special condition. Let's see each other again sometime. It completely baffled me. Xiao Bu said when seriously wants to become the world's strongest. His younger brother, Han Yuxian, also ran over. Xiao Bu said casually, telling me not to mind what they just said. At least he hasn't done anything wrong. Of course, I don't care about those remarks. As the guild leader, my brother, how could he possibly do everything flawlessly? Anyway, today's negotiation was very successful. I returned to the company dormitory in the evening. Lu Qingyu prepared a sumptuous meal for me. To celebrate my successful signing, I enjoyed the delicious food, while telling Lu Qingyu to pack his bags, and prepare to move into my new building. However, I didn't finish the second half of my sentence. Lu Qingyu collapsed to the ground and started crying. I'm going to be driven away after all. I was speechless. I quickly told him that wasn't what I meant, but he couldn't hear a word I said. Muttering to himself, I knew it would eventually come to this. After all, I'm just an F-class. Keeping me around is useless. Thank you for your time. Saying this, Lu Qingyu turned to leave. I quickly grabbed him. He's the key to my ambitious retirement plan, and he only needs to hone 10,000 blades to unlock the SS level skill. But if I told him that, he'd still think I was just trying to comfort him. There's no other way. I've dropped the Suk Hoiyan name. If I want him to believe me, using the power of authority is the most effective. I told you Qingyu about a type of training. Awakened beings like him can obtain special skills. This man possesses an SS grade crafting skill, WQ, but needs to hone 10,000 DJs to unlock it. To help Lu Mingyu regain his confidence, I used Shirhan's name to tell him about a type of training. This allows awakened beings like him to gain special skills. Then I pulled out a bunch of short Ds. Lu Mingyu looked completely bewildered. He didn't know what I was doing. I told him, with a mysterious air, that this method, JD, cannot be revealed. Lu Mingyu always had an auxiliary skill related to WQ. I told him to use that skill to grind these DS. Although Lu Mingyu still didn't understand what was going on, out of trust in me, he still did as I said. After a while, Xiao Bu said, a short D was finished grinding. Zio Bushuoman. As expected, the number of ground DS also started to be calculated. Zio Bushuoman. Now I'm completely relieved. I told Liaminjiu, Bushuo, just repeatedly polishing the tools like this, you can obtain equipment-related skills. Moreover, it's guaranteed to be a skill that will allow one to live comfortably for the rest of their life. An incredibly amazing skill, but you need to polish 10,000 of them. But if you take your time, it can be completed in a year. Lu Mingyu was very excited when he heard my words. Then I'll polish 100 a day. He said, won't it be finished in 100 days? Lu Mingyu said he was very good at this kind of repetitive work. He'll finish it quickly. He said he would let me witness his prowess. I quickly told him to put down the D first. That sounds awfully strange. Now that the problem with the number 1 retirement asset is solved, it's time to check on my number 2 retirement asset. Then I went to Shi Hiyan's laboratory. Shi Hiyan excitedly praised me for knowing the dungeon so well. She must have thought I did some extra research. She even asked if I wanted to join the research institute and open a research lab with her, but I looked completely apathetic. We had already been chatting for hours. Let me go home. Shi Huyan continued to ask me, saying that the dungeons are unpredictable, so no one really believed there were patterns, and researched them, did they? I quickly said, I'm just speculating at the moment. More information is needed. After all, there aren't many dungeons in the country. This statement was strongly agreed upon by Shirhan. She also mentioned that the country is too small. There are simply too few dungeons. But she quickly realized she'd misspoken. She just meant that if more dungeons could be investigated, statistics could be conducted. Her words suddenly made it clear to me why Shi Hiyan would go abroad in the future and join the H country team. After 3 years abroad, she and her team members discovered the rules governing the generation of the underground city. H country earned a huge amount of patent fees from all over the world because of this. I can't help but wonder, is there any way to keep her in the country and still have her discover that rule? This woman prepared buckwheat jelly and rice wine just to lure G-Monster out. Of course, this isn't the G-Monster from myths and legends. It's a very famous spatial displacement hunter. He lives up to his name. He's a strange hunter who likes to dress up as a G-Monster. He has always been very mysterious. No one knows his name. Even his age and gender are unknown to the world. The only thing people know is, his special skill is spatial displacement. He uses his ability to travel anywhere, saving lives in the collapsing dungeons, and amidst various natural disasters. He became famous for it. but his uncanny ability also made many people with secrets feel threatened. Until that time, Ji appeared at the high-ranking officials' secret spoil-sharing meeting. Because of his teleportation ability, everyone present couldn't hit him with their QS at all. Ji only left one sentence behind. You officials with so many secrets, remember this. My bag is full of various secrets, but as long as I'm safe, they'll never leak anything. After saying that, G-Monster instantly disappeared. Originally, it was already very difficult to catch him because of G-Monster's skills. In addition, there's simply no such thing as a person or organization without secrets in this world. Ultimately, G-Monster gained everyone's safety guarantee. Xiaobu can freely enter and leave anywhere in the world without belonging to any organization. Xiaobu can freely come and go anywhere in the world without being affiliated with any organization. To see G-Monster, Shirhayan searched online for ways to summon G-Monster, scattering roasted barley everywhere. I'm speechless. He's not a real G-Monster. Instead of doing all this, it would be better to directly ask Hayan for help. Just then, the whole laboratory suddenly went dark. I thought a light bulb had blown. I turned on the flashlight on my phone. At that moment, Shirhayan looked at me, her face a mask of unbelievable terror, because behind me, a terrifying face, beyond description, appeared. Shirhayan screamed. The whole person was foaming at the mouth. He collapsed onto the ground and fainted. I was shocked. What in the world was that? I quickly activated my resist fear skill. It helped me calm down a bit. These days, it's hard to say whether it's a monster, but how could there be a G with such an exaggerated entrance? It must have been him. I looked up and yelled at that G. Stop it, G-Monster. Sure enough, the next second, G-Monster took off the terrifying mask. He returned to his original appearance. He smiled slightly and said, I only came because she said she wanted to see me. I really didn't expect her to faint from fright. At this point, I had already seen G-Monster's status bar. His name was Yin Luan, it turned out, a Class B Awakener. He could enter and leave any place at will, and he doesn't belong to any organization. It made me think, if I could get his help, then Suk Ho-yun wouldn't need to go to Country H. This is an opportunity. Thinking this, I smiled and said to him, this joke isn't scary at all. Don't tell it again. G said, bouncing around, you're lying. I saw you trembling with fear. But I said there was a reason. I didn't expect that. Otherwise, would you dare to bet with me? Let's see if you can still scare me. This man, calling himself G-Freak, has obtained the rank of a B-class awakener. He possesses the ability of teleportation. I could travel freely through the world, if I could get his help. Then Shirhayan wouldn't need to go abroad to complete her research. This is an opportunity. I propose a bet with him. If he scares me, he'll just be his subordinate. If he isn't scared by him, he'll be my subordinate for 3 years. Although G was very interested in the bet, he still chuckled when he heard what I said. You're just a mere F-rank. You actually want me, the great G, to be your subordinate, even considering that you're the brother of the Abyssal Guild's president. My 3 years. You probably have to be my subordinate for 20 years to make up for it. Yet I nonchalantly said it didn't matter, and I pulled out an awakener contract, Xiaobu. He said that if he agrees, he will come to sign the contract. But G didn't fall for it so easily, and said, how strange, you clearly know you'll lose, and yet you still want to sign the contract. What exactly are you hiding? Are you F-level city scum? It shouldn't be any amazing skill. Do you plan to use equipment? I felt relieved after hearing that. Although he knows something about me, he doesn't know my skills. As long as it's below legendary level threat and horror, my fear resistance skill is completely immune. Xiaobu said, I did leave myself a loophole. My face flushed. I pretended to be shy and said, I think you're very handsome and amazing. Bu said he's saved many people. He was also cool when he made his secret declaration. So the bet is no loss for me. If I win the bet, that'll be great. But even if I lose, I can also become a subordinate of Jikai. This flattery completely sent Jikai to the clouds. He was so happy he couldn't close his mouth, and my speech also put his worries to rest. Because if someone directly said they wanted to be his subordinate, he definitely won't agree, so he just thinks of this bet with me as a clever means to make me one of his subordinates. That's why he agreed to sign the contract and the betting agreement with me. What he doesn't know is that he's already fallen into my trap. We agreed that over the next week, he would scare me 3 times. If I could withstand being scared even once, he'd become my subordinate. This woman had always wanted to meet G-Monster, but the moment she saw him, she was so scared she fainted, foaming at the mouth. The first thing Shirhayan did after waking up in bed, was to ask me about G-Monster. He's probably gone by now, I replied. Then I said quietly, G's fashion sense is so bad. He's actually wearing a blue outfit and a red mask. Is he trying to be color blocked? I waited for a while, but it remained deathly quiet. I smiled and said to Shirhayan, it's surprisingly quiet. It seems he really left. Shirhayan sighed helplessly. She still had many questions she wanted to ask G-Monster. She said her research in China hit a wall. She's trying every means to break through. She's researching the patterns of dungeon generation, I know that much. If I could get G-Monster's help. But right now, I definitely can't tell her what Boo said. I only told Shirhayan that I have a way to provide her with ample resources, so she can also conduct research domestically. She just needs to have research results in the future. He can share the profits with me. But Shirhayan is a bit worried, because this is a research project with uncertain results. It might not yield any results at all. Knowing his future achievements, I naturally am not worried about this. I told her to let go of her burdens, she said casually. She just needs to focus on her research. I mentioned that the recently discovered Class A underground city near Y City is likely to be in a mud or marine environment. We could have her uncle, Shiming, bid for the management rights of that new underground city. It should be very helpful for her research. After that, I left Shirhayan's lab. My next task was to spend a week playing with G-Monster. The figure of a white-haired old man appeared in the window. He gave a strange smile, but I was calmly holding peace by the window, even criticizing his moves as too cliché. First attempt, failed. Second day, I got Lu Mingyu some blunt Ds from a second-hand store. But then, a pair of hands suddenly reached out. My feet were grabbed. With a thud, I hit the ground. I landed flat on my face. I was so angry, I could have. I told you not to scare me. It's not like I made you hurt me. That clumsy guy kept apologizing. He said he didn't expect me to fall so easily. The second time, the attempt failed. And then one day, I woke up in the middle of the night looking for some water. In my drowsy state, a scarecrow covered in fresh blood suddenly appeared in front of me. I pretended to be amazed. This time, you really put some thought into it, but you won't scare me. But when I turned around, a large, withered hand suddenly appeared in front of me. The G-Monster, hanging in midair, emitted strange, click-clack sounds. Ouch! A continuous attack. This time, I was really almost scared by him. I took a step back, but suddenly, I bumped into someone. Lu Qingyu was holding a short D. He slowly turned his head. This scared the G-Monster next to him. He screamed, "There's a G." It turned out that Lu Mingyu couldn't sleep in the middle of the night. He thought he'd come out and grind his D. When he turned his head, he suddenly saw the G-Monster who was so scared it jumped to the corner of the wall. He was so scared he foamed at the mouth and fainted. Third time, attempt failed. G-Monster, complete defeat. That G-Monster is so pathetic. Pretending to be a G-Monster to scare people. But I was startled by Lu Mingyu, who was grinding away in the middle of the night. Because of my legendary, fear resistance skill. The gamble between G-Monster and me. From the beginning, he was destined to lose. G-Monster didn't expect that he would actually lose. He was so angry that he rolled around on the ground. He was still crying, saying that because he signed contracts carelessly, he'd been constantly exploited by his subordinates. He said that if he went back, he'd definitely be tormented by them. He decided not to go home. He wanted to stay here. I was speechless and told him not to cry. He's not a child anymore. I asked him how old he really was. G-Monster continued to cry, saying he was over 100 years old. He also said he was a real G-Monster. I told him not to joke around. There's no such thing as a G-Monster in the world, Xiaobu man. G-Monster retorted, saying, but aren't there dungeons in the world, and awakened ones? And you even have a fire-breathing brother. Hearing him say that, it does seem to make some sense. Compared to suddenly appearing dungeons and awakened ones, G-Monsters or G-Gods are a bit more realistic. But Boo said, isn't he an awakener? I can still see his information. Although his human name is a bit strange. Who am I? Yun Shan Man Boo has obtained. Little Boo said, gee, take off your mask and tell me. Actually, he is already over 100 years old, but at the same time, he was born 3 years ago. Xiao Bu misspoke. His words reminded me of the first appearance of the dungeon and the system was 3 years ago. I asked him. Xiao Bu said, so, were you born together with the system? He nodded and said, I guessed right. Diobuman, the so-called G-Monster, is a being born from a soul inhabiting an old object. He slept for 100 years, and awoke when the power of the underworld seeped into the world. He woke up. For a moment, I didn't know whether to believe his words, but his words do make some sense. This could explain his G-Monster skill of traveling through space, because the power of the system also belongs to the type that connects here and other spaces. However, to say that he is truly a G-Monster, is still a bit hard to believe. I asked him again, is your name Yin Luan? Yin is the surname, and Luan refers to a wheel. So, you originally belonged to the Yin family, and you've used that water for a long time? Ji asked in surprise, how did you know? It really is. I only casually asked because I saw this legend online before. But regardless of whether he's a real G-Monster or not, now that he's lost the bet, he's become my subordinate. I picked up the documents I had prepared earlier, and smiled slightly at him. My strange G subordinate, now I have a task for you. I never expected the legendary G's personality to be like a child's. The moment I asked him to help me with something, He started playing dead and rolling around on the ground. I took out the documents and indicated that he should investigate other GJ's dungeons. What exactly to investigate? I've already written it down above. Because ordinary foreigners cannot approach the dungeons. But with his invisibility and spatial movement skills, it's completely possible. G, lying on the ground, said haughtily, "Of course I can. But why investigate this?" I quickly flattered him with a fawning smile. Of course it's to help G become an even greater hero. Collecting data might reveal the patterns of dungeon generation. That would reduce the harm caused by the collapsing dungeon, right? This is a world-saving investigation. Then, Mr. G-Monster, who's collecting data, is naturally a hero of the world. There will definitely be more G-Monster biographies and merchandise then. G-Monster was very pleased with my flattery. He snatched the data right out of my hands. Whether I'm a hero or not doesn't matter. I mainly want to contribute to scientific research. But G asked me, do I absolutely have to go to other countries? They're all so far away. Xiaobu said, man, and I was stunned. Xiaobu, can't you teleport? G said it's too far away. He can't move that. Xiaobu, can he still not perform long-distance teleportation? Boo, think carefully, that skill doesn't seem to be in his skill list. Xiaobu, you man, if that's the case. Only I can cultivate him. Let him possess this skill. Thinking of this, I stared blankly at him and said, I love you. G was stunned on the spot. He asked me why I suddenly said that. I quickly explained to him, aren't the G-Monsters inherently a race full of love? I gave him a loving look. If they were true G-Monsters, they should be used to love. The monster looked at me, somewhat incredulously. Is that really true? In the end, the monster still didn't say, I love you. It got scared and ran off in a hurry. It's a bit of a pity, but there will still be a chance in the future. Evening. Shi Shiming and Shi Heian excitedly ran to find me, because the dungeon I had them bid on was indeed a mud dungeon. It contains very precious materials. This gives the Hyuan Guild a strong source of funds. Shi Shiming wasn't sure how I knew, but he still planned to immediately add me to his list of valuable talents. He even said that to protect me. He planned to install a locator on me. It made me so angry I almost let He Ping attack him. I told them I was just guessing. Real predictions still rely on Shi Heian's research. Once I finished, I quickly ran away. Because my prediction is only accurate for now. Many things will change in the future. I don't want to pretend to be an expert. In the end, I'd be seen as a fraud. But they took my words as a sign of my low profile. This led to a deepening misunderstanding. This is an extremely difficult pet maze. The maze also has mirror walls and toys to distract them. I heard that even well-trained cats and dogs take at least 3 minutes to escape. But as a high-level monster, the flame horn lion actually rushed to the finish line. Before the host even finished the introduction, breaking the record, I excitedly hugged the victorious piece, constantly praising it. It also looks very happy. The host and the guests next to it are clearly also charmed by the adorable piece. They keep praising it. Why did I suddenly decide to appear on a TV show? It all goes back to a few days ago. Shi Shiming suddenly said he wanted me to participate in this thing called. My initial reaction was a resounding no, but Shi Shiming said, even if we hide it, Xiaobu said, the information will eventually spread worldwide anyway. So it's better if everyone knows you. Because the more attention I get, the safer I actually am. It was his words that convinced me. Puseman. That's why I finally decided to participate in this TV show. Although my past experience of being cyberbullied left me with no good memories of appearing on TV shows. Luckily, He Ping is adorable enough to melt the hearts of everyone who sees him. Xiaobu said, even the host commented, that this was the first time he'd seen such a cute monster. He Ping being constantly praised greatly satisfied my vanity. It felt like my own child had achieved great results. This completely changed my prejudice against television programs, bringing peace under the camera lens, continuously performing various shows for everyone. After the recording ended, I was completely exhausted and collapsed onto the chair, but I was extremely happy. I finally got to show off my child properly. He's so cute. Keeping him hidden would be humanity's loss. I'm even thinking about making a social media account for him. Maybe we could even release a merchandise album or something later on. Just wait until he grows up and becomes a global superstar. I could also become famous as a manager and beast tamer. I'm still dreaming of becoming famous here. But suddenly, I felt something hanging down to my face. I opened my eyes, and almost got a fright. When Hyunya, the guild master of the Breakthrough Guild, just above my head. She was looking at me with a smile. This woman's sudden appearance scared me so much I fell to my knees. Even He Ping was so scared his fur stood on end. Manhwa said she was filming a TV program about Warcraft. At least 3 A-class hunters must be present for protection. And she also wanted to drop by and see me. Saying this, she reached out her hand to help me up. I was speechless. Such a small matter didn't require the S-class guild master to come personally, did it? Seeing me ignore her outstretched hand, Moon Hyunya murmured, do you want me to solemnly princess carry you? Of course not. I said to her softly, everyone's watching. Don't do something that could be misunderstood. But when Xianya said with a giggle, what's the point of caring about these things, Xiaobu Chengman? You're the one who's supposed to raise my child, you know. I was so shocked, my jaw almost dropped. You really don't mince words. When Xianya patted my shoulder and said with a smile, I really do like you. Would you consider coming to my place? I said to her angrily, wait until you've met the conditions of the world's strongest before saying such things. Manhwa smiled slightly and continued, you're quite bold with your words now. What is there to be afraid of? My younger brother is also S-class. At that moment, Park Yerin, who had just gone to buy drinks, ran back. A wave of childlike energy appeared around Little Boo. It formed a semi-transparent barrier, gradually enveloping Manhwa and me within it. Park Yerin tried to approach Xiao Bushiman, but he can't break through this isolation barrier at all. Xiao Bushiman. When Xianya gestured for Park Yerin to be quiet, then said, just give me 5 minutes. Heping was scared. She bared her teeth at Wen Xianya, looking fiercely cute. I quickly hugged Heping. I wondered what Wen Xianya wanted to do again. Wen Xianya said with a smile, this is a simple skill application. Our voices will be cut off. Although Wen Xianya said so, but I know this isn't easy at all. Park Yerim is also S-class, yet I can't even cope. Although I know Moon Hyunya wouldn't hurt me in this situation, facing an S-class alone still makes me a little nervous. I politely asked her, is there some secret you want to tell me? It's not really a secret. It's more about being careful when you speak ill of others. I feel like you don't understand your brother very well. I'm a little worried about you. Hearing Wen Xianya seemingly wanting to speak ill of my brother, my expression immediately darkened. When Xianya asked me to calm down, she didn't mean to sow discord. With a smile on her face, she asked me, do you really trust your brother? Do you believe your kind-hearted brother became the guild leader purely through his own abilities, growing up in a poor family without parents, and an incredibly obedient younger brother? This kind of story wouldn't appear in children's fairy tales, because it's unrealistic. I was just about to explain about my brother, when Moon Hyunya interrupted me. You mean he's an angel-like child sent from heaven? But angels wouldn't trample on others' guilds. Should I tell you how your brother, as a hunter, has made his way? This woman was once an athlete, but she unexpectedly awakened as an S-class hunter. Later, she became the guild leader of Breakthrough. But Moon Hyunya, who only ever did sports her whole life, how could she possibly know how to run a guild? She's just like Choi Suk-won, the guild leader of MKC. They're all in cahoots with large corporations. He just holds the title of chairman in name only. So, among the top 5 guilds in the country, the only real guild masters are Song Hyunjae of Songkyeon Guild, and Han Yu-hien of Haein Guild. Back then, he was just a student. He would ignore all the olive branches offered by the giants. He'd create his own guild. When Xianya thought he was an overconfident little brat, he'd soon fall. Xiao Bushuomen said. Xiao Bushuomen said. Sure enough, Xiao Bushuomen said. Later, he faced all sorts of constraints. Xiao Bushuomen. I even heard that someone tried to poison him. When people from various guilds went to besiege the Haiyuan Guild, Xiao Bushuomen. When Xianya even tried to stop them. Xiao Bushuomen. She felt that no matter what, Xiao Bushuomen, they shouldn't treat a child like this. But who would have thought, when Bushueman arrived at the Abyss Guild, she saw a shocking scene. The gates of the Abyss Guild were engulfed in raging flames. The ground was covered with burnt tea. When Xianya even thought a monster had appeared. Xiao Bushuomen. But what he saw was Han Yu-hsien covered in wounds. It was a one-sided massacre. Han Yu-hsien was like a demon in flames. Xiao Bushuomen, devouring one life after another. Bushuomen, when Xianya approached, Han Yu-hsien subconsciously turned his head and slashed down with his sword as Xiao Bu said. When Xianya quickly raised her hand to block it, a self-mocking smile appeared on her lips. I was so foolish. I even treated you like a child and worried about you. You're anything but a child. It's clearly a wild beast. Later, that incident was covered up as a gas leak. Those implicated were secretly eliminated one after another. Ultimately, all the forces behind it succumbed. They were swallowed up by Haiyuan. It may be hard to believe, but that's how S-rank awakened are. Moon Hyunya stood before me, telling me the story of her brother and the rise of the Haein Guild. Her words truly surprised me. It was the first time I'd heard about my brother experiencing something like this. Moon Hyunya said to me, I heard you two have been separated for a long time. Don't you think he's different from the younger brother you knew before his awakening? That guy's a monster. Even though he pretends to be a docile younger brother, he might reveal his true nature in front of you at any moment. Moon Hyunya leaned down, whispering in my ear, continuing to say, it's too dangerous for you to stay by his side. Why don't you join our Breakers Guild? Just now, when Hyunya, the guild master of the Breakers Guild, told me about my brother Han Yu-hien and the bloody history of the Haein Guild's rise to power, she also wants to invite me to her guild. Her phone suddenly rang. Swipe to listen. It was Han Yu-hsien. He'd received a message and was calling her. Seeing my silence, when Xianya said that if I wanted to keep my distance from him, she could help me. But it wasn't because I wanted to get away from my younger brother or anything. It's just that for the first time, I felt that my younger brother had also struggled through a lot of chaos. Then I snatched the phone from Manhwa's hand. After my younger brother realized I answered the phone, he asked me if Manhwa had said anything strange. She was talking bad about you behind your back. I told my younger brother, Xiaobu said. A monster-like younger brother. His hands stained with fresh blood, Xiaobu said. He climbed up stepping on corpses. But so what? My younger brother has indeed become a little strange, Xiaobu said. I've been crawling around in the dungeon's lower levels for 5 years. Would I not know how this circle survives? Even me, Xiaobu, doesn't have completely clean hands. Zioba Xiaoman. And after experiencing the scene where my younger brother sacrificed himself to save me, what older brother in the world would let go of his younger brother's hand? I smiled and continued to say to my younger brother, Zioba Xiaoman. Zioba Xiaoman seems to have underestimated me. If that's the case, I should also talk about her bad points, shouldn't I? Xiaobu said. That happened in April, a year ago. When Xianya's face changed instantly after hearing my words. This is a story that, 4 years later, everyone in the country will know about. Zioba Xiaoman, when Xianya's dark history. When Xianya snatched the phone away in fright. How did you know? Almost nobody should know about that. She was so angry that she crushed the phone. She grabbed my collar and shook me violently. She kept asking me where I heard it from. I just said I heard it by chance. Moon Hyunya was furious. If it weren't for the fact that she still needed me to train her riding beast, she would have had me killed. In the end, we reached an agreement. I won't talk about that. And she can't say bad things about my brother anymore. When Xianya thought I would be more naive, so she wanted to test me. Unexpectedly, she miscalculated. She snapped her fingers. The previously established isolation shield instantly dissipated. Park Yerim rushed in. She became friendly with Moon Hyunya. But rather than fighting, it was more like playful interaction. I have some doubts. When did their relationship become so good? Could it be because they're the only two S-class female hunters in the country? I'm a little worried. After Park Yerim and Hyun's contract ends, won't she go to Breakers? But Breakers will disappear soon. In a few years, both MKC and the Breakers guilds will collapse. Why don't we just recruit Moon Hyunya? Moon Hyunya's powerful attack skills should complement Yerim well. And for Park Yerim, compared to a dark, older guy like me, it would be better for her to have a female mentor. After that, the show I participated in aired on television, and so, I became known as Monster Dad. This man is the most useless F-rank hunter, yet he possesses the extremely rare SS-rank equipment crafting skill. It takes him to hone 10,000 blades. Before that, Lu Mingyu sharpened knives in the kitchen every day. It's incredibly scary at night. So I contacted the Heian Guild. I plan to have Lu Mingyu work in the guild's equipment management room. Anyway, after he unlocks the Master Goldsmith skill, he'll definitely be working here. For Lu Mingyu, doing these logistical tasks, it's much better than sending him to the dungeon. He opens the door to the equipment management room. A wave of intense heat hits him. This is the equipment management room. It handles the entire guild's equipment manufacturing and management, as Xiaobu said. Inside, it looks like a large factory. It continuously emitted a sizzling sound. After various metals were smelted, they were poured into molds to create different pieces of equipment. Xiaobu said, after which, workers would carry out fine crafting. It is said that all the workers here are awakened beings of E rank and above. Lu Mingyu's gaze was drawn to a magic stone. He was just about to reach out and touch it, when he was stopped by a worker nearby who shouted. He asked what we were doing. He said we couldn't wander around here. Xiaobu said I quickly explained to him. They said we have already contacted the HR team in advance. They said the comic workers have been notified. I heard Lu Mingyu has skills in polishing D. Xiaobu said they have already prepared a work spot for him. Xiaobu said, looking at the worker's muscular build, and then at Lu Mingyu's small frame. I'm a bit worried if he can really be a good craftsman. Then the worker took us to the worksite. He asked Lu Mingyu if he had ever used a grinding machine before. Lu Mingyu said he had used one a few times when he was a child. At this point, Lu Mingyu noticed a large, special grinding machine. He had seen this type of machine online before. They say you can grind anything just by inputting commands. A nearby worker quickly reminded Lu Mingyu, those are theirs, don't touch them. They had already prepared a separate workspace for Lu Mingyu. Saying this, he opened a wooden door. The door creaked. He brought us here. It turned out to be a storeroom filled with junk. In the middle of the pile of junk, there was an old, moldy manual grinding machine. I never expected the equipment management team to be here. They would assign Lu Mingyu to work in a small room piled high with scrap. His only tool for grinding was a long-since mildewed manual grinder. I was just about to confront that worker, when Lu Mingyu stopped me. It was then I realized that the workers here seemed to be very dissatisfied with Lu Mingyu. I think he got the job because he's the chairman's brother. Normally, they wouldn't hire an F-class person to work here. Lu Mingyu told me not to worry too much about it. After all, in other people's eyes, he just got in through the back door. He chuckled and said that being able to use the equipment here was already pretty good. He will work hard. But I was the one who brought him here. I feel so sorry for him. But Lu Mingyu didn't mind so much. Xiaobu said. He moved a stool to the grinding machine, and prepared to start grinding. Although Lu Mingyu had only used this kind of manual grinder a few times as a child, fortunately he still remembered how to use it. As the millstone turned, the rusty metal emitted a clicking sound. It was being gradually sharpened. In a short while, Lu Mingyu successfully sharpened a. I see the progress bar increasing. It seems this method can be considered as honing the blade. Still, this manual device is more reliable. That fully automatic machine is very likely to be unrecognized by the system. Lu Mingyu quickly got into the working state. His long hair was tied up. He was focused, constantly polishing the DJ. Xiaobu said casually. He didn't even respond when I talked to him. Looking at Lu Mingyu, who was so serious, I was a little surprised. I didn't know he could have such an expression. This is the first time I've seen him with such a focused expression. In no time, each DJ was polished to perfection. It seems I won't have to worry about Lu Mingyu anymore. I see how dedicated he is. Just the second day, Lu Mingyu stayed home to recuperate because of severe muscle pain. He must have been trying to get something for nothing through connections. When he found it didn't work, he simply ran away. But yesterday, that worker pointed to the small room and said to his colleagues, "Look over there. Would someone trying to get something for nothing do this?" In that small room, it was already piled high with sharpened blades. Yesterday, Lu Mingyu sharpened 1,000 blades in a single day. Can you believe it? This man actually sharpened 1,000 blades in a single day. Though it caused him to call in sick the next day due to severe muscle pain, it also proved to his colleagues in the equipment room that he wasn't just some nepotism hire here to slack off. In the time that followed, Lu Mingyu hones blades tirelessly every day. In just 1 week, he had successfully honed 5,600 of them. That evening, Lu Mingyu prepared a large table of delicious food. I felt the whole table was glowing. Could honing blades actually improve one's cooking skills? Park Yerim next to her took a bite. She instantly showed a satisfied expression. She devoured her food, Xiaobu said, because she's going to the dungeon soon. She won't be able to eat such delicious food there. Park Yerim has been incredibly bored lately. I've been waiting for this day, but the people in the Heian Guild said she said, because she's young, she was only allowed to go to B class and below dungeons. Possibly a name or mishearing, needs context. This is causing Park Yerim a lot of trouble. She wants to level up quickly and get new skills now. She's even thinking about whether she can go to the dungeon every day in the future. But I directly rejected her idea. Because when your stamina is depleted, it's very obvious. But even if your magic power is depleted, it's not easy to notice. If you lose consciousness from depleted magic power in the dungeon, that's settled then. Speaking of which, Xiaobu. I asked Xiaobu how much magic power Park Yellen has now. Xiaobu said fluently. She said it's 102. I just wanted to smile and say nothing. My magic is only a measly 2 points. Her magic is actually 51 times mine. Park Yerin, beside me, clearly didn't notice my self-pity. Instead, she went to ask Lu Mingyu if he wasn't going to the dungeon. She said that with Lu Mingyu's skill, if he went to the dungeon as a cook, he would definitely make a lot of Q. Lu Mingyu said nonchalantly, "It's fine. Anyway, he only did it because he likes me. I lent him my gloves. I told him to wear them until he finished grinding D." Lu Mingyu knew these gloves were A-class equipment. I had always treasured them. He actually lent it to him. Lu Mingyu was instantly very moved. He hugged me and said he would definitely use it well. This man possesses the extremely rare SS-grade equipment crafting skill, but it can only be activated after honing 10,000 blades. A week in the equipment crafting room, Lu Mingyu has already polished 5,600 handles. In the days that followed, he wore those grade A gloves every day, and continued to tirelessly polish. His colleagues gradually accepted this hardworking and selfless insider. Seeing Lu Mingyu sweating profusely from the heat, she even proactively handed him a towel containing magic stone material, capable of maintaining body temperature. That night, when Lu Mingyu finished grinding a batch of blades, he found that it was already very late. The entire equipment forging room was very quiet. Everyone else had already left work. Then he saw the sparkling crystal again. Xiaobu said, "The ocean." Xiaobu said, "The sea." Lu Mingyu felt that this thing was amazing. It actually glowed by itself. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. "Don't touch anything randomly." Lu Mingyu was startled. The speaker, Xiaobu, was the foreman who had brought him in on the first day. He told Lu Mingyu that, "This is an S-class magic stone. It's valued at over $1 billion. Because a magic stone of this size, so well preserved, is incredibly rare. I haven't decided how to process it yet, so it's temporarily stored here." The foreman tapped the magic stone, somewhat wistful. He said that even a guild the size of the Abyss. Xiaobu said the equipment group doesn't have anyone skilled enough to process it. Xiaobu said. Then the foreman said to Liu Mingyu, "You're being bullied because of your connections." Xiaobu said, "It's hard, isn't it?" Liu Mingyu was startled. He quickly lowered his head and said, "No." Ignoring his attitude, the foreman continued, "I heard you polished the equipment for every worker here yesterday. I saw it too. It looked brand new." Lu Mingyu was a little confused by the foreman's words. He didn't know what he meant. Then the foreman said, "His resilience is sufficient. If you want to stay and work here, then continue to prove yourself to everyone from now on." Hearing the foreman say this, Lu Mingyu finally showed a relieved smile. Everything was going very smoothly. Until one day, someone pushed open the door to the equipment room. She anxiously said to Lu Mingyu, "Are you Lu Mingyu, the hunter? Please come with us." The foreman next to her hurriedly asked what was going on. The woman suddenly grabbed Lu Mingyu's shoulder. "We need to investigate you regarding the disappearance of Han Yuchen the hunter. We need to conduct an investigation." Upon hearing her words, Lu Mingyu froze in shock. "What do you mean? What happened to Yuchen?" Lu Mingyu never expected this. The Hunters Guild said Han Yuchen had disappeared. This shocked Lu Mingyu immensely. He clearly said he'd be staying at the Haiyuan Guild all day. Just then, Park Yellen also returned. She was supposed to go to the Undercity today, but she heard about this on the way, and immediately rushed back. The president of Heian, Han Yuhian, is also on his way back. Everyone is very worried, but they haven't found any clues. The time goes back to a few hours ago. I was lying on the sofa, enjoying the peace of the afternoon. My younger brother, Yu Xian, and Park Yilin are both working hard now. Sure, Heian has already joined us. Lu Mingyu's skill awakening is just a matter of time. I really don't have anything to worry about now, except for the sofa being peacefully dismantled. We stayed home all the time. He seemed cooped up. He kept making noise beside me. There was no way, I said, so I decided to take him downstairs for training. I arrived at the elevator entrance, hoping for peace. There's a security personnel here specifically assigned to my protection, although it feels a bit burdensome. Since the negotiations with the 5 major guilds last time, the guilds decided to take turns sending guards to protect me. Today's guard is a B-rank hunter from the MKC guild. We're going to the gym, which is on the second basement level. He Ping is very smart now. Xiaobu said that as soon as he got into the elevator, he pressed the button for the second basement level himself. He Ping is like my child now. Watching him become more and more excellent, I'm truly very happy. But when I turned my head, I noticed the guard next to me was looking down at his phone. Yesterday's guard was very peaceful. Does today's one not like small animals very much? After a while, the elevator stopped. 3 men, each pushing a large suitcase, stepped onto the elevator. I took a look. Their hunter ranks were C, E, and D. Their ranks were rather low. They probably weren't from the Abyssal Guild, so I asked them if they were from other guilds. The D-rank hunter laughed, saying they were from the Bricks Guild under the Abyssal Ocean flag. They said that because low-level dungeons yield a lot of armor and large-sized byproducts, they often borrow the Abyssal Ocean's gym to test their equipment. That's why they carry such large boxes. They chuckled, adding that they had already checked their luggage upon arrival, so they weren't suspicious. We arrived at the second basement level quickly. After saying goodbye to them, I headed to the gym with He Ping. I thought those people were so strange. None of them complimented He Ping on being cute. We arrived at the gym. He excitedly jumped down. He picked up a rope, wanting to play tug-of-war. But I didn't notice. I didn't know when. But the people in the elevator had already come up behind me. This man didn't notice at all that the danger behind him was quietly approaching. They are the same people from the Bricks Guild we encountered in the elevator. As soon as I turned my head, a cloud of red powder poured down. What's going on? What did they spill? At this moment, the system prompts. Detected item, Watcher's Fruit. Item effect cancelled. Although I'm fine, the piece beside me also inhaled some of the powder. With a thud, he collapsed immediately. When the others saw that MY was ineffective on me, they pressed a handkerchief over my face. This is a fast-acting sleeping powder, but it still had no effect on me. I don't understand why these guys are here. How did they get in? Seeing that I hadn't passed out yet, they guessed that the Abyssal Guild might have given me antidotal equipment. The D-rank hunter then tried to approach me. I struggled and kicked at him, saying. Then I fought hard to break free from the man grabbing me from behind. Everyone was shocked. Xiaobu said, "Isn't his ability level F?" I didn't pay attention to them anymore, and ran straight out the door. The B-level guard sent by the MKC Guild is still guarding here. I ran while calling for his help, but unexpectedly, the guard suddenly threw a punch. The punch landed right in my stomach. I was directly knocked to the ground. Buff said that the guard complained to those people. Don't you know how to do things? He's clearly wearing good equipment. Let's strip him of his equipment first. Those mortals, hearing his words, stripped all my equipment off me. I was utterly baffled. Has the MKC guild betrayed us? Tell them to send a guard. But instead, they sent a spy. I was still figuring out how to escape. But then, someone next to me suddenly ripped out my earring. That earring had 29 magic power on it. I've already used my skills several times. I took off my earrings. My own meager magic wasn't nearly enough to sustain the skill's consumption. I then lost consciousness, due to magical exhaustion, and fainted. Sure enough, I should have seen it coming when they didn't want peace. I should have known. A bucket of cold water was poured over my head. I woke up from my faint, but my hands were tied up with ropes. I still hadn't figured out what had happened. The man in front of me grinned and said, "You've finally woken up. You were sleeping so soundly, so I helped you wash your face." I saw through my skill that this guy's name is Jin Yuj. He's a B-rank hunter with the best starting skill. I've never heard of that name. Best initial skill. I wonder if he's in the same guild as BJ and my people. If he's a B-rank, then he must be the guild master or a deputy. Then Kim Woo-jae suddenly grabbed my hair. I feel a little bad for bullying a weak F-rank. So I'll get straight to the point. The flame horn lion you raised. It has a symbol of ownership, right? Hand it over. I never imagined. The guard sent by the MKC guild was actually a spy. They conspired with others to BJ me out of the Abyss guild. The B-rank hunter, Kim Woo-jae, in front of me, advised me not to expect anyone to save me. He said I should obediently hand over the symbol of my master. Upon hearing his words, I actually felt relieved. If they want the symbol of my master, it means they won't harm the peace. It should have been brought here with me. Then I asked him if he could bear the consequences of BJ. The 5 major guilds and the Hunter Association will take action. Jin Yuzi just looked at his phone and smiled slightly. Well, it depends on whether they can make it in time. It turns out that the rebellious guard was still pretending to guard the gym entrance. No one knows yet that I've been or compromised/captured. And Kim Woo-jae said that even if they eventually find out, they wouldn't know when they could find this place. Because this is in a shipping container at the docks. There are identical containers everywhere here. By the time they find us, the ship will have long sailed to Country N. I was startled. Could your mastermind be from Country N? Kim Woo-jae said with a smile. It's not a mastermind, but the auction location. If we auction you off, we can get half of the queue. We'd also receive sufficient funding. So that's how it is. Xiao Bu said that I can't be moved within the country. Xiao Shi said they just want to sell me overseas. That's why the guard dared to team up with the guilds under Abyss. Zio Bushiman said that even if the guild and association knew I was BJ'd, they would find me even if it meant deploying the Coast Guard. But if the ship were on sails out of territorial waters, things get complicated. I have to stall for time as much as possible before they find me. Thinking about this, I suddenly burst out laughing. Jin Woo-jae froze. Are you dumbfounded? What's so funny? But I said to him with a laugh, weren't you just saying I'm an expensive commodity? Since I know you don't dare to hurt me, what is there for me to fear? With just a few words to provoke him, I was indeed met with a beating from Jin Yuzai. I originally intended to provoke him, hoping he'd hit me a little. Only then could I be sent to the hospital to buy time. But Kim Woo-jae clearly wasn't a fool. No matter how much I verbally attacked him, he only punched and kicked me. He wasn't clouded by anger at all. Then he threw me into another container. There's a cage here. Kim Woo-jae said they also kept a magical beast. Then I heard a hissing sound behind me. To my surprise, a slender tentacle reached towards me. The man was so scared he couldn't move. Because a long tentacle is reaching towards him. Kim Woo-jae, standing at the doorway, grinned. You're finally scared, huh? This is Korek, a monster from the C-class dungeon. When it catches its prey, it uses the poison in its tentacles to inflict a curse. It's an excruciatingly painful feeling. Anyone cursed for 30 minutes will crawl on the ground, drooling. I hope you have a wonderful time. Kim Woo-jae closed the container door with a grin. On the other side, Park Yi-lim pushed open the office door with a loud bang. She immediately grabbed Han Yu-hyun's shirt. Didn't you say the security inside the Abyss was reliable? What's going on now? Han Yu-hyen patiently explained to her. Logically speaking, the direct subordinates of an S-class hunter would almost never betray them. It's like how wild animals follow their leader for survival. They instinctively and irrevocably depend on S-class hunters. It's precisely for this reason that only the guild master's direct subordinates can serve as his brother's guards. But the person who came today isn't the originally assigned guard. MKC secretly switched people. Because the MCK guild is funded by non-awakened nobles, its internal power is divided into 2 factions. The faction of sponsors secretly planned this. Han Yu-hyen knew a conflict between MCK and the other faction would eventually erupt, but he didn't expect them to join forces with a guild under Hae-yun. Choi Suk-won, the president of MCK, has lost control within the guild. I don't know where those people took him. The reason Han Yu-hyen called Park Yi-lim here, it's to use her skill, White ST, to read the memories from the ST. Because the rebellious guard has already been silenced, This might be more accurate than getting a confession from him. Meanwhile, Kim Woo-jae, waiting outside the container, found it strange. Because the guard hadn't contacted him regularly since the beginning. Could it be that I've been discovered so quickly? But Kim Woo-jae wasn't very worried. Even if this BJ mission fails, as long as I get the master's symbol, I'll still get a hefty sum of Q. Thinking this, he excitedly pushed open the container doors. But he was surprised to find me lying motionless on the ground. Kim Woo-jae found it strange. That curse shouldn't cause someone to faint. He walked over and kicked me. But he didn't find the beast, Korek. He had already been lying against the wall behind him. I suddenly lifted my head and muttered, "Xiao Hei, now's our chance." Kim Woo-jae still hadn't figured out what was happening when the Warcraft, Korek, attacked him. But as a B-rank hunter, he reacted quickly. He jumped away immediately. But then, the tentacles of the Warcraft Korek suddenly extended. Kim Woo-jae was dumbfounded. What on earth is going on? I clearly heard that you only cultivate monster cubs. I smiled coldly and said to him, as a B-class hunter, don't you know that hunter's skills aren't all publicly known? This man never expected that a lowly F-class hunter could actually control a C-class magical beast. Jin Yuzai, whose arm was tangled by the tentacles of the demon beast Korek, shouted in surprise. I've never heard of you being into this kind of thing. I gave him a slight smile. Actually, there's a lot I can do. The time goes back 30 minutes. I have to say, Korek is really ugly, especially the way it sticks out that disgusting tongue, and the tentacles behind it. It's enough to drive anyone mad. Although I have resistance skills, the curse itself doesn't matter. But what if it directly attacks me? I'm currently not using any equipment enhancements. It's hard to defend against this. And my ankle is also injured. It's also affecting my movement. Luckily, I can still use the system's warehouse. I took out a BS. I cut the rope tying my wrists, Xiao Bu said calmly. I plan to defend myself with BS, Xiao Bu said calmly. I'll try to last through these 30 minutes. But then I suddenly realized, calmly said, this monster seems to be a little scared. It didn't attack me actively. It's even slowly backing away. What's going on? Is it afraid of me? But I'm only an F rank. Then, the system's electronic voice sounded. Xiao Bu said to activate Dragon Slayer. Little Bu, Nemesis of Righteousness, effect. When dealing with Kolek, Little Bu said, Moonlight, all skill effects will double. I was shocked. Little Bu said, so, is this because of the Dragon Slayer title? Little she said, this is the title I earned when I defeated the poison-cursed Dragon King. Although I don't have any offensive skills, if the effect of the skill is doubled, then the conversion skill should also be doubled, right? I immediately let go and discarded the BS. Then, I took out a small bottle glowing with blue light. I smiled and said to Korek, Little Black, do you want something delicious? This is the C-grade magic stone I ground. Time returns to the present. I said to Jin Yuzai, who looked puzzled. I can't really explain it to you. Should I say I'm lucky? Or should I say the timing was right? Stroking Korek's chin, I continued. Anyway, thanks to you, I've made another good friend. Then I pointed at Jin Woo-jae. Xiao Hei bit him. Kolek didn't hesitate. He bit down on the tentacle wrapped around Jin Woo-jae's arm. This man is unbelievable. Just an F-rank hunter. Yet he's tamed a C-rank magical beast. At my command, Korek lunged at Jin Woo-jae. But Jin Woo-jae was indeed a B-class hunter. In a moment of urgency, he tore off Korek's tentacle. But the area of his arm where the tentacle had been wrapped was already blackening, emitting a sizzling sound of corrosion. It's clearly Korek's poison. Then, with a poof, I took advantage of Kim Woo-jae's inattention, and jabbed a BS-1D into his poisoned arm. Kim Woo-jae let out a roar, violently flinging his arm away. He directly threw me out. I fell to the ground but smiled. It turns out that a B-class body, when weakened by poison, can still be pierced by a D-class weapon. At this moment, Jin Yuzai was sweating profusely due to the poison and his injuries. Now is the perfect opportunity. I order Korek to attack again, Xiao Bu said, but Jin Yuzai pulled out his own WQ. He viciously shouted, even so, it's just a mere C-class monster. Even if I'm left with only one hand, I can easily defeat an S-class one. Saying this, Jin Woo-jae swung his sword down at the attacking Korek. He truly is a B-class hunter. That single strike severed Korek's head clean off. Sound of a thud asterisk. Korek's body fell to the ground, split in two. Sound effect asterisk. Zio Bushuoman, Jin Yuzai turned to look at me. Do you think you can achieve anything with that? He grinned. You're nothing but a low-level rat. Even with tricks, you can't win against a B-class. I ignored him. Instead, he bent down, gently stroking Korek's ST. Kim Woo-jae, who was still mocking him, suddenly felt something was wrong. His head spun. With a thud, he knelt on the ground. His body trembled painfully. What's going on? Korek is clearly dead. And its curse is supposed to only affect those of lower level. How could it have such a strong effect on me? Unknown to him, my skill was activated the moment Korek died. Its skills and stats have been doubled and transferred to me. That's a double-double effect. Of course, it will hurt. At this moment, Jin Yuzai is in unbearable pain. He rolled on the ground in pain. I glared at him coldly. So, why did you provoke someone who just wanted to live a quiet life? I grabbed his head. Now tell me, where did you put my precious and peace? Jin Yuzai gritted his teeth and shouted, enduring the pain. Who exactly are you?